couple times to land the plane.
Yeah, I always get to the on tonight's episode we discuss, and then even though it's written right in front of me, I go.
So, even though we're streaming in live, can I give you some constructive criticism, Justin?
Sure.
Can you actually leave a gap between your countdown and your start?
Sure. So I'd be like
3,
2, 1. Welcome to Nintendo Dads episode 270, recorded March 5th, 2020. On tonight's episode, gosh darn it, Nintendo, got to give us some information because these are getting really drawn out shows because we ain't got a lot to talk about. Well, actually, I'm completely lying because we've got 5 incredible voices on the internet discussing all things Nintendo, including where's our Direct, what's going on with Animal Crossing, and what happened at PAX East. Jesse, cue the music.
What's up, everybody? It's Marty here from Nintendo Dads. It's episode 270, and yes, Justin can get through an intro in one take. I'm a little taken aback over here. I'm a little amazed.
I know, and I didn't swear during my intro either, which is great. Like, I feel like we're off to a good start already.
Yeah, it's because you're drinking that giant Slurpee.
This is a medium. This is a medium Slurpee in Canada.
I don't care what size it is. I want to know what flavor it is.
I am never a solid one flavor guy. I'm always growing up. We used to call it like swamp water, where you mix flavors. I don't know if it's that.
Suicide.
Okay.
Suicide.
So I have in here some Pepsi.
Canada's version of it is way more PC.
Oh, for sure. Right? Yeah, we're very much that way, right? So I have in here some Pepsi, and then I have some Mountain Dew Game Fuel. And then topped off with Dr. Pepper that looked grape-ish. So it's like grape Dr. Pepper, but I know that's not what they were aiming for, but someone did something weird with the machine. Nonetheless, I feel good about my life right now and my choices.
Justin's over there seeing or smelling colors. Mm-hmm. And also joining us tonight from Kansas City, Jesse Waldack. How you doing?
Good. You know why he did that successfully in one take?
Because you pressured him into it.
I wouldn't say pressured him. I would say he properly took the constructive criticism and internalized it and then delivered. Although it was in the term of 300 milliseconds, yet he did all that.
Pressure is not a fine word for Jesse. I use the word bullied. Bullied is about right.
And that's a good word. That's a good word. Yeah, I like that. Speaking of bullies, all the way from ye old England, it's Gary. He's alive.
We go for a pint and a fight every weekend. All right. Is it going?
Wow.
I just gotta say,
stereotypical.
Earlier, Gary, we all connected to Skype. Gary popped up on the screen, and I was like, "Who is that?" It's been a while since I've seen you, but and this proves the rumor, or disproves the rumor that you and I are the same person.
Yeah. It does. Just about, I think. I mean, the way your camera's freezing up, it could be a video source. I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know. Maybe we pre-recorded this and you guys are all just reacting to my voice right now.
I wish I could do a good impression of you, but I can't.
No, you can't. I would hate to hear what that sounds like. Joining us on the show tonight is our very special guest, Donnie from Nintendo Shack. How's it going, bud?
Greetings, Kooplings. What's going on, Nintendo Dads? I'm so excited to see Jesse again and Gary. Gary's here. What's going on, guys? Hello.
I was really hoping for a Shack screen there.
I've been podcasting for 4 straight hours.
Oh my gosh.
I'm coming off of a bender, guys.
Yeah.
Let's add 2 more.
Hold on, guys. I've had too much podcasting. But hey, look, that is awesome that you would even consider joining us after that. We're going to get into you and where people can find you because it's been a while since you've been on the show, and so we'll turn the community spotlight over to you here in a little bit. But we're glad to have you.
Oh, I'm always happy to come hang out with you guys. Awesome dudes. Seeing you again, Marty, Justin, and these are 4 potential Shack hosts that come hang out with me and my new crew on the new Nintendo Shack 2.0 that unveils next week. And yeah, man, I'm very, very excited. We have all kinds of things in the works. And yeah, man, it's who doesn't love talking about Nintendo games? Period. This is I'm not sure if you guys have Googled or YouTubed it. Very popular thing to do these days. Get on phone calls with friends, talk about Nintendo games. Lots of folks are doing it.
Yeah, and but you know what? None of them doing it as well as our two shows. Let's just be honest.
I will happily take that company any day of the week.
None of them.
For sure.
So here's what we need to do. We need to jump into the news right now, as thin as it might be in these dry, post-apocalyptic, non-Nintendo Direct days. But let's do that, shall we? And of course, our news is brought to us each and every week by you fine folks over at patreon.com/Nintendo Dads, where you can jump into one of the greatest communities on the internet for just $1 a month. Justin, did you realize that? Just $1.
$1? Just $1? That seems too low. That seems too low.
It's not too low. And I know that seems like an incredulous deal, but here's the deal. You can still do that. Like, you can do that and you could still go buy a Swamp Water Slurpee. That's hard to say. Swamp Water Slurpee. I'm sorry, down here where we live, sometimes we can't get the words out. It's not good. We can't talk right. But anyway, over at patreon.com/Nintendo Dads for $1 a month or on up, $1, $5, $10, $15, $30, you can be a part of building the show, shaping and getting post and pre-game content or pre-show content, polls, all kinds of other stuff over there. You can even be a Patreon producer and jump into the show. I don't know what just happened.
Justin's dying here.
Yeah, I'm
For some
a
reason,
little.
Justin started.
Is this
I'm a little
because of the
concerned.
chat, or is this something else?
I'm a little concerned. Justin, you okay over there?
The glasses off cry. Laugh. That's one of those laughs.
All right, so we do want to. Are you going to tell us what's going on here in a minute? Okay. So.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, what's going on?
What's going on? So Sean Capri has jumped over onto our Twitch channel and is live streaming us inside of his Twitch channel and has added himself the call and is doing play-by-play as we're doing the show and then proceeded to do some kissy faces.
Oh, I wondered why you were kissing at the side of your screen there. I thought maybe like one of your daughters had come into the room.
I'm not gonna lie. I apologize. I got distracted myself shining.
Yeah. So moving on from that, Sean, that's a brilliant idea. Keep it up. We love you. New patrons to announce this week. We are thankful for you. Let's Switch Games, Charles Simkowski and Troy Taylor. Thanks for joining up and becoming the newest patrons over at patreon.com/Nintendo Dads. Now, let's get on with the news. As some of you may know, March 3rd is a pretty important day in the life of this podcast because 3 years ago today, or 3 years ago that day, is the day that we first all brought home and opened our brand new Nintendo Switches. It has been 3 years since the birth of the Nintendo Switch on March 3rd, 2017. And what an incredible, incredible ride it's been, right? I was looking around the internet, as I am wont to do during the week, and I saw someone who I think perfectly summed up how I feel about it. They were talking about, 3 years, happy birthday, Switch, and they followed it with this: thank you for making it normal to like Nintendo again. And so I thought it would be fun to kind of like go around the horn here and just talk about 3 years in, guys. What still, like, what about the Switch are you still loving? What are things that you wish we or thought that we would see by now that you wish were here? And maybe let's just take a minute and talk about what you think the future holds. Okay, so Donnie, you're our guest. guests always go first on Nintendo Dads. We're going to start with you. 3 years into the Switch, what are you still loving about the Nintendo Switch?
Did it feel? Is it just me? Does it feel longer than 3 years to you guys? God, it feels so long ago when I was in that GameStop picking up my Switch for the first time. I've had so many models. I've done so many system transfers and stuff since then. It's just like, wow, yeah, that was only 3 years ago. It seems longer than that.
I was talking to my son, unrelated, but still about 3 years, because it was a little bit more than 3 years ago since I built this machine. And he goes, that doesn't seem like 3 years. It only seems like last year. So I'm like, yeah, that happened a few weeks before the Switch release. And he goes, oh no, it's been that long already?
Man, what an open-ended question. In terms of what I mean, like, it's just like there's so many ways you can take it. In terms of what do I love about the Switch, I mean, that Switch launch, like coming home with Breath of the Wild and playing that game and talking about it with all of the collective internet that was kind of in awe of that game. I mean, hard pressed to say they should do that all the time. It's a high bar to hold them to, but man, if they could do it every time, that'd be a great way to go. I'd love it. I'd really, really love it. It was a lot of fun, and I don't know if that'll ever get old. And I think we all eagerly await, the follow up and the sequel, and we're all super excited. And we waited for the first one for so long. I can't imagine that, we're all going to be too upset to wait too much longer for the sequel. Like, I'm happy to wait. If they deliver like they just delivered, take your time. Do whatever you got to do. Give me another one of those, because. Like when I had my Wii U and I was getting teased at the Game Awards, and then like they kind of went away and then they kind of came back, and then, like I didn't like it at the time, but boy, when I played it, was it all worth it. I would 10 out of 10 times make those trades and wait that long to get a game like that. So, yeah, man, and today's Switch, I mean, it's such a cool system, and cool is probably the most appropriate term. It's not the best system in terms of graphical output and performance or features. It's by far not that, but it doesn't matter because it's so cool, because its basic functionality is still in such high demand. When you compare it against mobile games, and then you compare it on the other end of console games, it fits squarely in that perfect range. That Venn diagram, it is squarely in the middle where it probably kind of appeals to everybody. And that's that Nintendo sweet spot, when they can land there, and the Pokemons can survive, and the Breath of the Wilds can survive, and Animal Crossing is like, all of these things are hitting right in the right opportune time. So I think all of that is fantastic and paints at least a bright future going ahead. So if you're asking me, where do we think it goes from here? I mean, we're 3 years in. Most console generations, if you're holding it to a console, most console generations are, 6 to 8 years. But at the same time, this isn't a console, really. It's a tablet. And if you think of it like that, if you want to put it up against the iPad or like a Samsung or an Android, I mean, Nintendo Switch could just be Nintendo's platform for many, many years. They could just keep releasing better and more functional and more efficient versions. I love the light. I keep saying it on Nintendo Shack every week, how much I love the light. It's basically stopped me from playing on the TV at any point. Like, I don't want to play on the TV. I want to play on the light. It's fantastic. And I know the long talked about Switch Pro. Give me a light that can dock. Just give me a light that I can play on the TV, and I'll do that too. So as we get more and more efficient, as the tech becomes more and more attainable, I think there's a lot of different ways they can go in both directions. They can make things more affordable. They can make things more graphically powerful, and I'm here for all of it. So I love it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you bring up the light and how much you love it. I'm in the same boat. I this week got to play the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo on PS4. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but it felt so weird to be playing on a TV because I don't do it anymore. I very rarely do I play on TV unless like my whole family is playing a game or I'm playing a game with one of my kids. The thing about Switch for me 3 years in is just the realization of how much it has changed how I play video games, right? For a lot of people, it's changed how they play video games. It's the constant clamoring. We laugh about it now, but it's true. Of a game gets announced, where's the Switch version? Where's the Switch version? Because there's a generation of gamers now who Nintendo was very smart to tap into this, knowing that, hey, our customer base, our consumer base is older now. They don't have as much time to sit in front of a TV like they used to, but hey, they can play it on the go. And so, like you said about the different iterations and them continuing on for years and years, I think that one of the things that when I think about the Switch is, how do they do anything different from this from now on? Like with this model that they built of this hybrid system, once you go there, you kind of just can't go back to just a home console anymore, right? Unless you just make it all in one box, but then you have two things to carry.
I can, one of the things that I've been doing recently is I've adopted the Apple TV platform and the iPad, and I've been doing the Apple Arcade. And if we're talking about the future of Nintendo, and I think this is very timely with all the Animal Crossing talk, and I've said this on Nintendo Shack, one of the things that I absolutely think are right down Nintendo's alley, if they can pull it off, is if you can have that automatic cloud sync to where your home console can be your portable console at the drop of a hat at any moment. Because that's how my Apple Arcade stuff works. I play on my iPad at work. I play, like, say, Oceanhorn or Shantae, which is what I'm playing now. I come home, I grab my controller, I flip the switch, it automatically pairs to the little TV box that's on the thing, and my save is already there. It's like instant save state. I just click in and I pick up right where I left off. It is the Switch. Now, it requires two different pieces of technology that cost a lot more than the Switch. But if we're talking about the future of Switch, if they keep iterating on these things, I think they totally can. Here's a new Switch on the go. Here's a home-only version of the Switch, but they play together seamlessly. It's perfect. Just like the Switch concept that you pick it up from your dock, except now they're two separate devices. You play here, you pick up, and you keep going. That could be a whole other launch. It could be a Switch 2.0. It's all backwards compatibility, and it has more power and does more things. The sky's the limit. If they can get there, then they can do they can do anything. All sorts of things will open up to the horizon at that point.
So, Jesse, what about you? 3 years in, how you still feeling about the Switch?
Well, I'm still loving the Switch, though. Since I've been playing a game on the DS the last few weeks, I haven't gotten much Switch time in. But starting last night, I've been starting to play games on the Switch again, and then I'll talk more about those later. But yeah, they, when my kids were still living in the house, my son would pretty much monopolize the TV behind me, so I could still play what I want handheld, now the games that I want to play on the big screen I can, but I don't have to if I don't need to. And I pretty much already took down my PS4 and any other system that I had on that TV behind me, and I think all of my old systems have gone to kids' houses right now, so the only thing I have left is the Switch.
Awesome.
And I don't miss it.
Wow. Yeah, I think, and something you said there is really important for me is, like, I don't really play other systems. I have them, but unless it's on Switch, I don't have the ability or time to play it a lot of times.
The last three games I played on my PS4 was Persona 5, Dragon Quest 12, Final Fantasy 12, and Spider-Man. And, those were 2 and 3 years ago games.
Right. Yeah. Gary, 3 years in, how you feel?
I feel like it's been a very long time, Margie. So 3 years ago, I actually got hands on the Switch before it released. I went to basically what I could describe as a scene from Batman in Birmingham. It looks like somewhere where Batman would fight somebody under a bridge. Like it's a really shady end of Birmingham, and they had a little industrial unit there which they opened up and had the Switch event on. And I think that was in like January, February-ish, and I was blown away by the system then. It just felt so small for what it was. Like, we saw pictures, but it always looked bigger. And then playing with the Joy-Cons in the grip for the first time, found them ridiculously comfortable, and I still do. But I've got teeny tiny little baby hands. And then the Switch actually became my first midnight pickup for anything. Like, I don't do midnight pickups. I'm a patient person. I can wait normally, but I did the midnight launch. My brother picked up his, and we both came to my house, and we stayed up till like 8 a.m. just playing Zelda. He played on the handheld, I played on the TV, and every 2 minutes, one of us would be like, "Whoa, look at this!" And then we would look at each other's screen like, "Whoa!" And then the other guy would go, "Look at this!" And that's because we went different ways off the plateau, right? And I think that became, even though the first year of the Switch was like fantastic year, like the relentless amount of games that they launched month after month, I think that is the biggest highlight of the Switch so far for me. Like the launch was brilliant, and there was barely anything there. It's just Zelda made it, right? Going on, it's had, a lot of good games so far. A lot of good games. They seem to be clustered up the last year. Like they were all together like towards the end of the year, and the start was pretty quiet. And it's the same this year as well. So I hope it picks up a bit later on. The downsides to the Switch, I sent a lot of Joy-Cons for repair. Like a lot of Joy-Cons to repair, and sometimes they've sent them back and repaired the drift on the stick, even though that wasn't the reason why I sent them. It was a broken rail. So it seems Nintendo have got an obsession with Joy-Con drift as well. So this brings me to my negatives about it. Like I say, I love the system and I love the portability of it. I love that you could dock it into the TV. I think it's a very shoddily made system. I mean, for an example, that is the noise my Switch makes constantly.
Oh, wow.
It's warped. I've got
sounds
scratching.
like a drone.
Yeah. Like the shape of it's warped. It's bent. Just from being in the dock. I've got scratches all over the screens. Luckily, I use screen protectors, so that was a day one purchase. Luckily, sometimes it'll randomly crash and turn off, and my brother's is cracked across the top, just again from heat in the dock, and so I just wish it was built better. Like Donnie was on about the light, like wishing the light would. I feel like the light feels like it's a bit better built. And a lot of people are talking about Switch Pros for the future and stuff like that, and I want that. I want a better Switch, of course, but most of all, I want them to nail the build quality more than anything. Like I want one of these systems to last. I want the Joy-Cons, but with some decent sticks in. I want the thing not to make noises like that when you're trying to play at night.
Wasn't it? There's some organization in France who named it the world's most fragile product this past year.
Yeah,
that's not really an award you want to win. And
No.
I get it. I like the grate or the vent port that's over my fan has broke off on my Switch.
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything to it. It just got brittle over time. Mine has a little bit of a bow to it from like where the battery or whatever, where it warped because of heating, and that eventually led it to become brittle and snap off. Did not drop it. Didn't do anything to it. But like you bring up a great point. Like, what are these systems going to feel like in our hands in 20 years?
Yeah. They'll become rare. I mean, whenever you go to like gaming conventions and they hand you Joy-Con, you're like, well, that's ruined this playthrough because it's just not going to work. And the first time I played Mario Odyssey was the same. Like, he kept running left. And I was like, oh, no. And that was year one, right? And
Wow.
it didn't come out until later that there was Joy-Con drift. It was an issue. I thought it was just reception in the convention, but looking back,
how many Joy-Con have you sent off, by the way?
5.
5.
Wow.
They all work now?
No, like I said, the one I sent for a broken side rail, the SL button doesn't work, and so you can't turn it on single Joy-Con. And they sent it back saying that they'd fixed the drift, which was never an issue with it. So
I fixed one myself. And I sent one in.
Yeah.
I have cycled through 7.
Wow.
And Nintendo UK,
I
UK famously doesn't fix drift, but they actually did mine for free. I think that was just because of the volume that I sent them.
Yeah, I've sent in 3 pairs, a total of 6. All of them with Joy-Con drift. One pair was mine, one pair was my son's, and one pair was my youngest daughter's. And I think they've all been fixed properly. So I haven't
3
tried
for
mine
my son,
since.
and he has been happy with them. Like his entire set of yellows started drifting on both sticks. So we sent in 2 lefts and a right, and they've been great so far. It was to the point where he did not have a set of Joy-Cons that worked completely. He was having to prop up. If he was playing anywhere besides the TV that's upstairs in the guest bedroom in our house where his Switch is, he would have to carry like a Pro controller with him to even be able to play.
It's definitely been an issue. I consider myself lucky. We've had long conversations about this in our Discord with our listeners, and I am definitely like one of the lucky ones. We have a lot of folks that have similar stores to you guys, sending more than 5 Joy-Cons in for repair. One of my co-hosts over at PSVG, he has no Joy-Cons that don't drift. Like he doesn't use it a lot, so he's like, I'm just gonna not use it. It's just a dock system he uses with the controller, which I understand. But I do consider myself lucky that I've only had to replace like the one, and it was for a rail problem, not the stick. The stick that went out in one, I had to repair myself because it had a D-pad in it. I bought one of those modded Joy-Cons, so I was like, well, I can't send this in. They're not gonna send it back.
They'll just send it back with a sticky note saying no.
But
it's like a frowny face of like Waluigi.
I'm not sure if you guys have tried it. It's really not that difficult to swap out a stick. It is difficult to swap out buttons, I think. Or like changing the case can be a little tedious, but the stick is actually pretty simple. You kind of just fold it over, you lift the clamp, you pull out the ribbon cord, and you unscrew that bad boy off. You pop a new one in, you clamp it back down, you put it back together. It's really not that bad. You can get sticks. I'm not saying that this is a good thing or not. I'm just pointing out the issue. You can get sticks on Amazon. They're like $8, and they come with a kit and everything. You get like extra of them. So it's it took me the one time I did it. I was in and out of that thing in like 20 minutes tops. It really wasn't that bad.
Tim's done some repair on his Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I don't trust myself with mods and repairs. Like once I bricked a GameCube trying to mod it once, trying to solder in a chip, and then I tried Frankensteining 2 broken DS lights together to make one working one, and just ended up with a pile of trash.
Pile of stuff.
So other than that, like the one thing I've really enjoyed about the Switch as well is the third-party support, like playing Skyrim and Dark Souls and stuff. Definitely perfect for the handheld experience, right? Especially Skyrim. Some of the more tedious missions in between the main ones, like and the smaller stuff is definitely better to, turn on the TV, watch a program, and then like partly concentrate on Skyrim while you're at it. I really liked the Labo VR, and that brings me to what I want to see from the future of the Switch. I think that an upgrade, I would really like a really good screen on it, a smaller system with a really good screen on, and optimize it a bit better for VR and release an actual VR kit. Because if you had that screen strapped to your head and it was a decent VR screen, then the Joy-Cons are the perfect VR controllers as well. And we never got that with Labo. Like, I know you could buy the kits to strap it to your head, but Breath of the Wild in
you
VR
had to
was
hold
really good. Yeah.
Like it really hurt the fact that you had to hold it. Like you can't, strap it and let go and then use the controllers freely. You have to hold it the whole time, which, it even like the Switch, it's not like super heavy as like a whole console, but actually trying to play a game like that for any period of time, it's taxing.
I even bought like a headset where you can slide the Switch in to play the VR without actually assembling the Labo kit, and never opened it. It's still in the box. I bought the Labo VR. It's still in the box. I've never.
It worked well with
the
the little gun mechanic was super awesome.
Yeah,
like
cool,
I could have used like a whole little Splatoon VR spin-off thing just like that. I was like, oh, this is great. It was fun. That was like the one thing that I think I really connected with.
I know what you're thinking, Donny. Link's crossbow training too, right?
Yeah. Link's crossbow training with Labo VR would be a blast.
That would admit that would actually be really cool. Justin, what about you, man? Three years into the Switch, I know that weekly you teeter on the edge of Switch Lite and OG Switch. You're not quite there yet. One day you will see the light.
Hands down.
Gotta get
the light.
What are you thinking 3 years in?
I think it's so interesting. I love it. Do you know what I mean? Like it is with me all the time, pretty much going with me everywhere. And I so much connect the Switch with my travel experience in Ireland, right? The Switch, like we got the Switch in March and literally a month later we moved to Ireland, right? And then we traveled all through Europe, and every trip we took that Switch with us. I remember playing 3 hours of Dead Cells on a flight from Dublin to Holland. That was all I did. Do you know what I mean? And it was just perfect. It was an amazing experience. I remember playing Mario Tennis on a ferry ride from Dublin over to England. Do you know what I mean? There was a rainstorm in Croatia that we couldn't really leave our hotel. It was poor weather. We busted out Mario Party with the family. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of been at these pivotal moments as we've traveled, and it's been such a key component of those things. Here's a bit of an example of, I think, how it's resonated with my family. You know, I travel a lot for work, and, you know, I'm packing my bag as I do, my shoulder to-go bag, and I'll go grab the Switch. And my wife is like, "You're taking the Switch with you?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am taking the Switch." And she's like, And I'm like, "You'd rather that stay home?" She's like, "Well, I get it. I understand." And I was like, "Well, it's travel, right? So I'm going to take it with me." So it's just become such that thing in our household, right? I very much teeter on the idea of wanting to pick up a Switch Lite. I'm not confident right now on like the idea of like the Joy-Con drift on that, on those controllers, because you can't separate them, right? I also found, just to be very honest, I did get my hands on a Switch Lite, and I actually found it almost felt too small for me. I, unlike Gary, have actual man hands, so they're large enough to hold things, and it just felt very confined, a bit broader as well. I felt like I was very hunched in. I didn't like that feeling. I'm all in for whatever the Switch Pro is. And I had to laugh. My wife said, she's like, "Yeah, once there's a Switch Pro, I 100% support you getting the Switch Pro. Like, go for it, do it. Like, it totally makes sense." But where it kind of is right now, a Switch Lite doesn't make sense. And I kind of get her point, right? I'm just being selfish Nintendo geek person. I think from a business perspective, what Nintendo did was a fantastic job sitting back and saying, what was the miss with the Wii U? And then how do we fix that problem? Right. And I think we've already told that story of, like, you get Zelda Breath of the Wild, you sit down that first time, you put the Switch on, and you're just blown away. You're like, this is amazing. Right. It was the perfect combination of an amazing system performing amazingly well with the perfect launch game. Do you know what I mean? And that set the tone. I believe, or I feel, that set the tone for Nintendo. And this is, and I mean, we're kind of, we talk about the lack of a direct right now, or lack of communication. This is the first time in like 3 years of the Switch life where I'm like, what are we doing here? Do you know what I mean? Like, the roadmap's not clear, but everywhere else it has been. And I think the story that Nintendo's telling, the indie support they have on it, right? Not only is it a banger of a first-party machine, and they've got out those games that you want, minus, a couple that are missing, right? But you've got your mainstream hitters. You've got a Zelda. You've got a Mario. You've got you've got so many of these big games, and you've got these amazing indies that are like finding a perfect home for them. And then you've got third parties that are like bringing pretty much some amazing content day and date to the console, or trying to get pretty close. And then this amazing back catalog of like, games from 2015 find their way to the Switch. Like, there's so much there that I'm just, I'm impressed. I'm thoroughly impressed. My wish for it, much like Gary, much like Donnie have said, is just a better hardware, right? My wife was playing Stardew Valley a couple days ago in handheld mode, and Gary, much like your Switch, it sounded like a drone was taking off in our house. And she turned to me, she's like, "Is that normal?" And I'm like, "Normal compared to what?" I was like, "It's better than Gary's, right? It's better than some other people's, but I don't think that should be doing that." And I'm like, and I am worried that it's going to, smoke's going to come out the back of it, and then that's it. So yeah, it's I think it's fantastic. I'm excited about it.
I've also upgraded like several times.
Have you? I have not upgraded. I'm still rocking the OG.
I am that consumer
You're
that like when the revised came out with the revised, like, the battery life, and I was like, oh yeah, I kind of want that too. Yeah. And I swapped up for that, and I'm gonna swap up for and I swapped up for Let's Go, and I'm gonna swap up for Animal Crossing. So I kind of do that a lot. Yeah. So I was going to ask, is all of you on your original system versus the new systems?
I'm still on like OG launch.
I'm on OG launch.
I'm on my second unit because I water damaged my first one and had to send it in with $150, and they gave me a replacement unit.
Just
is it the revised unit, or is it still an OG unit?
It's an OG model.
Okay.
That all happened about a year ago. It was before the new model came out with the.
It may be because I don't have 3 years on my revised one. Like I can't. But I'd be very interested to hear how these thoughts would have changed if you had the revision. I think that might have been a big reason why they released the revision. My revision, for example, doesn't run nearly as hot as my old one did. Like I remember when I was playing Breath of the Wild when it came out, I was putting in good 8-9 hour days consistently, and I would pick the Switch up and I'd be like, "Ooh, this thing is warm." My new one is like, it's not even like, it's very, very different. I never hear mine or anything like that, but it's newer.
Mine never sounded like a jet engine like the other two's, but when I was playing Builders 2, since it's got a lot of memory and computation going on, that system still ran hot even in my hand. I didn't even try to play that game on dock. No, I wouldn't want to touch it at that point. But that was probably the most processor intensive game I've played. Even more so than Breath of the Wild.
And again, Jesse, we remind you, just because you can play it in the bathroom doesn't mean you should play it in the bathroom. Therefore, it wouldn't have fallen in the toilet and got water damage. All right, so just that's a personal lesson to everyone.
Yeah. So let's take this in a different direction. So 3 years in, all of us have some things we love about the Switch. Around the horn here, one thing that you thought that we would have by now that we don't, that just kind of grinds your gears, like the one thing that you are like, yeah, like why is this not a thing?
I thought we'd have the Zelda HD remasters from Wii U. I thought we'd have those pretty soon, actually. I know Breath of the Wild was huge, and I'm not saying they should have released it right after it, but I was pretty adamant, like, towards the end of that first year, going into year 2, I was like, why not? I mean, like, the UI is already built for tablet. Like, they just made them. They're such beautiful games. Like, why not bring them forward? Because like right now, Wind Waker HD is still lost and stuck to Wii U. Now, I still have my Wii U hooked up. I still play it. I was playing it the other day. So I like it. But at the same time, like, that seems like such an easy release to just put out whenever you want and get a lot of fans buying and playing games again.
Speaking of the Wii U, just for 1 second, minus Link's Awakening, did you know that the Wii U is the only home console where you can get every single Zelda game on it?
Yep.
Minus handheld Zelda games.
It's the ultimate Zelda machine, which is why I still have mine. I hacked mine.
Mine is still plugged in, and I have all of it sitting like a room over.
Between the Wii U and 3DS, you have the entire Zelda library available.
Yep. Yes.
Wrong.
Well, you mean the
wrong.
CDI is not
one game
canon.
on the Wii U that you couldn't play.
What is it?
Four Swords Adventures.
I said that wasn't handheld. Oh no, that was GameCube.
Not handheld. GameCube.
Son of a.
So I hacked my Wii U. I'm not suggesting anyone else do it if they don't want to.
You've got Four Swords Adventures then, right?
But my Wii U plays GameCube games natively, and it plays it on the gamepad, and it plays it on the TV, and it looks fantastic. And it was worth every single penny. It's amazing. And every time I say it, my co-hosts are like, "That's illegal. You can't say that online." I'm like, I don't really care. It's awesome.
Justin, I just saved you from all that hate mail. That whoops in Discord.
Yeah, exactly. And we do have a specific line just for when Justin screws up something. Right, okay.
So for me, I think it would be, I'm going to say something that a lot of people would say, and that's decent online. Like, I don't think Nintendo have learned how to do online at all. We've talked about it 1,001 times. They definitely don't know how to do voice chat. Although the Wii U's voice chat was great on the games that had it active, right? Same as the 3DS. You could voice chat over the internet on that as well. The Switch, in many ways, is a giant leap forward, but such a crawl backwards at times. And I think that the online services aren't really services. Like, you're just paying for virtual console, but without really picking and choosing what games you want. And I think even though it is cheap, and you should give them that, like, it is cheap, I think that I would rather have dedicated servers rather than still using somebody else's system to play Smash on, essentially, because that's what happens, right? We're playing peer-to-peer games. So you're paying for a service that the service really doesn't exist. And I think that has actually hindered my enjoyment of games last year, especially the last 2 years, because Smash Brothers didn't run very well on the internet on the Wii U, and that's the only thing I've ever wanted Smash Bros to do, is run good online, and it still doesn't run. I think the Wii U probably ran better online than the Switch version does. That's probably because all 3 people that own the Wii U had a decent internet connection, right, Donny?
Then I got 200 down over here, so I was hosting matches left and right.
And same with Mario Maker. Like Mario Maker's multiplayer, when that got announced, I was so excited and blown away by this idea of playing levels with 4 people.
Yeah.
And it's the most horrific game I think I've ever played online. Like, there's really not much that I've played that's much worse than Mario Maker Online. And I mean,
I haven't tried recently, but the launch era Mario Maker 2 was unplayable.
And I always hear that like it's getting better elsewhere, but here in Europe, there's still somebody in a little village using a can of empty beans and a string to get their internet, so it's still not very good. Oh, wow, Jesse.
Wow, where did? For those of you that are audio listeners, like literally, Jesse just pulls out a can of beans, like
an empty can of beans.
An empty can of beans, like
you
as
know
if
why
it was
I
a
have
stage
this
prop that he was ready for.
You know why I have this around? I've used it before.
Kansas City, right?
For what?
What I literally talk into a can to make this effect.
Oh wow!
Oh, he's the guy.
It's also the can. It's also the can that receives my peer-to-peer connection when I play Jesse and Smash.
Ladies and
which
gentlemen,
is why
you want to help Jesse move away from a can, I encourage you. Head over to patreon.com/Nintendo Dads.
I like my
Whereas for a
can.
little as $1 a month, you can get him a soup can, not just a bean can. Thank you.
Cue the Sarah McLachlan music.
I actually use this.
will remember you.
I actually used this for some reason in a work call last week too, or made a reference that I have a can to talk like this if I wanted to.
Also, Donnie, I appreciate that you mentioned the Q Sarah McLachlan music, because we used to always say that during our first couple episodes is Q Sarah McLachlan. That was a well pointed reference.
Jesse, what about you here? Something you wish we had 3 years in.
Yeah, Mecha Dragon said one of the answers I was going to say, folders, or some mechanism of sorting your games, and themes. I'm okay. I know a lot of people want themes. I personally don't care. I don't turn on my Switch to look at the home screen. I launch it to play the games. Is that you agree, or is that a I want?
No,
theme?
I do. I bought like 40 3DS themes. I love themes. I want all of the Nintendo fanness. I want customized icons and customized folders. All of it.
I did get a Zelda theme on my 3DS only because it was free. I did not pay for it.
Here's the crazy thing, Donnie, and
I got themes that match my faceplates. So when I change my faceplates, I change my theme to match it.
Donnie, I think you and I might be spirit animals. I love you. And here's the thing that blows my mind about it, and I'm going to lean in this pocket right now because I agree with Donnie on this one. For a system that is so much about being different, about displaying different, I want to mix and match my Joy-Con colors. Like it's all about that like personal ownership. To not be able to have an adjustable theme or wallpaper, whatever you want to call it, just seems like this weird counterintuitiveness to everything else they have done for that console, and then counterintuitive completely to how they ran the 3DS line, right? Because again, to Donnie's point, remember you had the customizable faceplates. Exactly, customizable faceplates, and then you actually had the. Oh, that's great. Those are I so wanted a 3DS Mini with the customizable faceplates, but I had just bought the new 3DS XL when they came out with those, and I was like, "That's a hard." You have a Tupperware bin, don't you, Donnie?
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
You know what? It shows 4 3DS faceplates.
Justin, you know what's even more insane about this? As you're talking about this, I'm reminded that there are themes on the 3DS for Switch games.
Yeah, yeah,
that's right. The Breath of the Wild one. There's Mario Odyssey.
But there's no themes on the Switch.
Yep.
But me and Jesse are in the boring corner, right? We're like, I remember the good old days when there was no UI. Put the game in and it starts up straight away.
It's perfect. It's perfect way to spread some cheer and some fandom. when you open up the thing and your favorite characters are on screen, it's like a perfect way to greet you. It's so, I don't know, it's just warming. I can't see how I totally understand people like, I don't care, I just want to get to the game faster. That's fine. Like, you don't have to use it, but I like not having it doesn't make much sense to me. Like I'm the same way on every other system. Like I have a bunch of PS4 themes too. Like I just love it. I really do.
And yeah, it is such a counter to the rest of their design and inclusiveness and
colors, themes.
I very much wonder, has the idea not been raised? Like, is like somebody like, I know how I'm going to get a promotion. I've got this folder of themes, and that's how we're going to put this forward. Do you know what I mean? Like, who's going to stand up there and pitch this?
My biggest fear for the folders is like Wii U and like 3DS, that they eventually, because they'll eventually launch them, and you'll be able to name them whatever you want, but then they'll only put the first character on the folder. Yeah. And you'll just have these folders that just say E or 3 or in, and it's just gonna like that's.
They're afraid of Miyamoto tipping over every tea table in sight.
Yeah,
see, that's why you need the badge arcade stickers to stick on the folders, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and then you have that. Like, there's so many things there that I don't understand. I saw someone on Twitter, I think this week, they did like they always do like UI. Here's what the UI could look like, and the game pictures were like the full box cover arts. And so that was your scrolling through, and then like it's
so good.
Yeah, it looks so nice, right? And I'm like, and then they had an actual. I think Breath of the Wild was the background.
They do that with the NES and SNES online games. They show the box arts.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But you know what though, our box art in the EU is awful for Breath of the Wild. I don't want that on my Switch. Get it off.
You should. I was so glad I had the North American version before.
So Justin, what is yours? What is your one thing you thought we would have?
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's kind of already been said. I do think the UI update, and I have to agree, the online. Like, come on, really? Like,
I mean, we did play Tecmo Bowl together.
We did, and that was great, Donnie. And
across the pond,
pond, right? And there was only slight lag on that.
Slight lag. We had a little glitching, but we totally played.
We did it, right?
I mean, we played. I played Dr. Mario with Jodi. Yeah. Which really was not really like playing Dr. Mario with Jodi. That's a very loose term for what happened.
You got handed.
It was a massacre.
But I mean, the fact is, I had to go like find the low latency mode to change that so the lag was like this. Like, come on, really? All of that's garbage. That needs to be resolved. And then I think, and then it kind of brings us. I mean, if there's a segue point maybe to our next component, it's this. You boil it down that like. Animal Crossing, I can't move from console to console. What is wrong with you? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's those. Like Nintendo can do a lot of like 2 steps forward, and you're like, well done. That's exactly what we want. And then you're like, sorry, what did you just do? And then you're like, and you're back to start. Like, why did you do that? I don't understand, son.
Yeah, y'all said mine. I mean, it's the UI. I mean, I thought by now we would. At this point in both the life cycle of the Wii U and the 3DS, we had a completely different user experience on those consoles from when they launched. And it's maddening. Now, I know Tim thinks that part of this Animal Crossing thing is tied into a new user interface or a new way to save or a new way to transfer games. I don't buy that. I think they're just going to let it ride at this point, honestly. But, when you get like... when you get a lot of games, and I've got a lot of games, when you get a lot of games, it's really hard to sort through those using that all option. And folders would be my number one.
Yeah.
Like, last time
I tried finding Jackbox Party Pack 3, I skipped over it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Even with sorted by alphabetical, just because the icon looks so weird compared to the other Jackboxes. And so I want to make a Jackbox folder. That way I know where it is.
Me too.
I assume, Marty, you still have your petition at change.org for adding folders to the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, it's only at like 5 signatures. It's just
Come on, guys. Go over to change.org, search Marty Estes, search Nintendo Switch folders. You can make a real difference, folks. A real difference for the world.
I wonder how many different copies of the same...
I will remember you.
So, looking forward to the next little bit here for Nintendo Switch as we celebrate birthday number 3. What is one hope that you have? And I'm not just talking about in the next year. Like, what is a hope that you have for this system? Because I don't know that I would even say we're mid-life cycle right now because of how gangbusters it's doing, and the the different iterations like the Lite and possibly the Pro later on. So, what is your biggest hope going forward?
From a system or like just like a game?
Just anything.
Either.
For
Or both.
Switch.
Oh man,
Or
you guys
Switch.
are just setting me up to say my standard answer. I mean, I really, really want Mario Golf to hit Switch this year, and I'd be like, it's kind of all I really like at this point. I've gotten a lot out of Switch in terms of the library, and I mean, we're getting to the point where we're start getting sequels and re-releases and things like that, and I'm all for that. But I loved every ounce and every bit of Mario Golf World Tour on 3DS. I played it a bunch. We had a lot of tournaments going on. We used to do like little weekly like lunch tournaments, and I could use so much of that right now. And I think World Tour, and for example, I think it's the best Mario Golf I've ever played, and I just think Camelot did a great job. They knocked it out of the park. And I can only imagine what that looks like in HD, like on a big screen again. It'll remind me of like, I thought Mario Golf on GameCube looked great at the time. I was like, oh man, this game's so beautiful. It could be beautiful again, like if it looked like Mario Tennis does, for example. I don't think Mario Tennis was half the game that Mario Golf World Tour was. But visually, if you could bring that to Mario Golf and give me some really beautiful courses and some online play like Mario Golf World Tour. Mario Golf World Tour is one of my favorite games because of the asynchronous gameplay. We could all play online at our own time whenever we wanted. You could just log in and get your round in. It's like we all had different tee times. Made it extremely convenient. And like, how well does that fit your convenience, your portability factor that makes you love the Switch so much? It just goes hand in hand with it. And just like, I don't want a sports mix. I don't want 3 holes of golf and horse racing. I don't want, another tennis game or something like. Just give me a full-blown Mario Golf game, and I mean, I think that can like write at that point. They can write anything that the system gets after that is just cherry on top for me. Like, I will have been fulfilled. I've got this amazing Breath of the Wild game, got some awesome Mario stuff, Kart and Smash, and here is my Mario Golf game.
Great.
Okay. Somebody else.
So my thoughts are, the Switch is kind of somewhere between the PS3 and PS4. Probably a little bit more powerful than a 3. Definitely not as powerful as a 4. But now that PS5 is coming out soon and Xbox Series X, we're more than a generation or a generation and a half separate. So, Nintendo, I'm sure, is looking into, seeing what the next generation of Switch is going to be. Whether that's Switch Pro that we've been hearing rumors of last year, or just something completely different. I don't know if it'll go full 4K quite yet, but I'm thinking that whatever the next more powerful system is, I'm hoping it to be still backwards compatible, keeping that backwards compatibility, just because Microsoft and Sony is doing the same thing with their next gen, so that way the Nintendo doesn't have to start over with their fan base again. They just anything that played on the Switch could be played on Switch 2, and then new games will come out that are Switch 2 only, and I'll be in favor of that.
I've brought this up a couple times because I do play a lot of games and love my xCloud, and I was a Stadia founder, played Stadia. Does anybody think that Nintendo could go the streaming route? I don't think we're anywhere close to, like teraflops of portability and power and 4K in a tablet. Like the tech just is not even close to that. But streaming could get you there. And if Nintendo could get xCloud or get their own version of that and get some games over, you could have the best of both worlds. You could have, these games that Switch can't run natively, but you can play, and you could also have your games on the go. If you're disconnected, you can play Breath of the Wild.
So this is actually going to be my answer, right? It's that I know I've just moaned that the online is bad, and it is, rightly so. But what if all that money was going to their own dedicated servers for streaming? And this would mean then that we're, apart from the screen only being...
Or if they just license them.
But yeah, but we basically... This would stop us from falling behind in generations. Like, you've still got the portability factor for all the indies and stuff, but when you're using it as a home console, it would really be a home console then. You'd have the quality and everything. I've been playing quite a lot of xCloud because I cancelled my Xbox subscription, but the xCloud is still active on my phone, so I'm still playing Xbox games. And it's great. It works well. Like, it did work well to start with in England, but it's getting better over here. And seeing a game like Forza on this little tiny phone screen, well, I'm going to say little tiny, I've got quite a large phone, but it's great. It's brilliant. It works really, really well.
Tiny compared to that.
It is tiny compared to that. But I'm going to leave the people who are listening audio to guess what he showed. But to see it on such a small screen makes the graphics even better. And
it was another tin can. I'm kidding. Just kidding.
I think the Switch could run streaming really well, and it could be really good for the system. But I don't see it happening. That's the issue. But yeah, streaming is something I'd like to see.
Well, didn't we had that report back when PlayStation signed up to work with Microsoft on their Azure platform? We had that report that came out at the time that Nintendo was doing it too. We just didn't get like a public display of it. But I believe it was like GameSpot or something came out like Nintendo's a part of this whole partnership as well. They're looking into it. So it seems to be they're keeping tabs on it. We know they're streaming games in other markets.
Yeah, like they are streaming Japan. Like they did stream
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil, but they also streamed Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Well, I'd say that wasn't Nintendo, that was Ubisoft and Capcom doing it themselves.
Sure, but
on the Switch.
Yeah, right. And that's
the rub.
Just like Nintendo didn't license, right? Like they didn't build their custom hardware for Switch, right? They kind of licensed somebody else's proprietary information. They went to NVIDIA and they saw the Shield and they're like, we could do that as Nintendo. You give us the Shield and we'll label it Nintendo and we'll basically kind of put our own spin on it. And I've been kind of saying this for a little bit, and I just think a lot of folks are not ready to adopt streaming, and I get that. I understand why. But it's like Nintendo doesn't have to do it themselves, right? Yeah. They could just pay somebody and then put a UI on it and a Nintendo logo and be like, this is Nintendo streaming. It's running off xCloud, but like we're paying them for this service that they're doing, because you can pay Microsoft without partnering with Xbox. That's the thing you can do. I've been saying this whole time as somebody I've beta tested xCloud. I've been playing that. I've played Stadia. I bought all the stuff. The first person that gets that to Switch, whoever. And you've got to think that they're asking. Phil Spencer is all but confirmed. Like, we would love to put xCloud on Switch. You've got to think that somebody's negotiating, and it's just about making Nintendo happy. Like, whoever gets there in a way that makes the Nintendo money, once they unlock that extra game library, then, it's like everybody keeps looking for this Switch Pro that's going to output 4K. It's not going to happen. Like, you just can't. Like, not in 2 centimeters of plastic, you cannot perform those sort of functions. But with streaming, you can get not real close to 4K, but on a Switch Lite, you get a really nice picture streaming over 30 megabits. It doesn't take that much either. Like, we're real close. We're a lot closer to this than I think a lot of casual gamers realize. It's like we're at the doorstep.
Yeah. And I think in that idea, Donnie, then it begins to open up the great example. Guys, man, I'd love for Cyberpunk to be on the Switch.
Yep.
Well, in the current state of what we know the Switch to be, right, i.e. I need a cartridge, right, or I need for it to be on machine, that ain't going to happen. But if it's running some type of cloud-based service, right, very much to your point, like via a Stadia methodology or infrastructure or xCloud, well, now that library opens up. Now that's a very interesting proposal, right? And because it's not about the horsepower in the machine, right, which we know doesn't have a whole lot, but it's rather the connection, right? Yep. And that's where I think, if you look at Microsoft and Sony getting into this arms race, and to your point, Jesse, right, we're moving forward with whatever Xbox X or whatever it is now called, or Series S,
Series X,
and then and then Sony's got the PS5. We know that that generational gap is now becoming wider, right? And developers are going to be developing for that platform and not really the Switch. We see some developers right now who can kind of dabble in both of them, and that works really well. But when that moves forward to the next level, next generation, that gap becomes wider and the Switch becomes lost back here, right? And that fan base is lost. But if instead of like, hey, here's our Switch Pro Deluxe, blah, 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 it's now this streaming platform, you're now caught up with the other guys. Do you know what I mean?
That's Call of Duty and Madden. That's all.
Yeah, you're in that same conversation. And I think that's a brilliant spot for them to be. That's great. And maybe that's what the Switch Pro is, right? That's really, because your point, Donnie, it's not 4K. It can't be. Do you know what I mean? Like that doesn't.
I think they could maybe get the resolution like out of a dock, maybe, because just the picture doesn't require. But like if you're like in 4K, like that takes serious hard power. Like the Xbox One X is a very condensed box to do that, and it still does that with a lot of fans. Like you're not getting that out of the Switch. It's just not happening.
You're also going to need a lot of storage for the 4K textures. That's why games are 150 gigs now.
Yep.
That's why it has to not be on device, but rather at a cloud server.
So I think the next logical step from that, probably, I'm thinking 15 years down the road, 5G should be more abundant nationwide, worldwide. Have a Nintendo device that actually has a 5G chip in it. You can literally now play anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would be comfortable paying $20 a month for that and calling it an online service.
Yep.
I would totally be fine with that. Any other hopes for this year of Nintendo Switch?
Metroid Prime trilogy.
Oh no!
I want Metroid Prime trilogy.
You have to mention that Mother 3.
Up-resed. And I want
F-Zero.
Metroid Prime 4 to be good.
So, I'm thinking Pikmin 4 and a new 2D Metroid.
Yeah.
Can we just talk 1 second about how funny Reggie has been since he's left Nintendo?
Oh, I love it.
Because that comment about him being 6'3" at one point, but now he's 6'2" because of the weight of all the mother questions. Brilliant.
Like, well done, you.
He has a great way of continuing to stay inside that sphere. I love it. He's brilliant. My hope for the year is this, and it's a little bit different from all of yours. I just hope that we're able to look back a year from now as fondly at 2020 as we were the first 3 years. Mm-hmm. Because it seems like 2020 is on shaky ground for lots of reasons. I mean, let's be honest, lots of reasons, including the fact that it seems like there's nothing past Animal Crossing that has been talked about of note. And usually by this time, we at least have something. I think by this time last year, we at least knew like Super Mario Maker 2 was coming out in June or something like that. We had summer.
Well, we know we got Xenoblade Chronicles, like Definitive Edition, like Zombie Army trilogy's coming out. Like, I care.
I'm
sorry. Default 2.
Your tone is so alarming. Like, just show some patience, little patience.
Okay, Donnie, for people who don't play 110-hour plus RPGs and have time to do that, what's for me for the rest of the year?
It's coming.
Animal Crossing, man. You just dive in it.
Animal Crossing. You need to play some Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play some Animal Crossing. I'm going to play a ton of Animal Crossing.
It's coming. Look, Persona 5 Strikers, baby. That demo, Jesse. I don't understand why we didn't start the show with just you and I talking about how freaking great that game is going to be.
It's going to be fantastic. I'm excited about that.
Good.
I want to be able to understand it in my own language, though.
Yeah,
I was trying to show Dragon Quest XI.
No.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Persona 5 Strikers. That game is going to
get that garbage out of here.
What is it?
I'm joking.
I hear what you're saying, but
what I'm saying is this: for 3 years, Donnie.
Yeah.
For 3 years. We have got
a roadmap.
We've got the roadmap, and now we don't. And a lot of people, including myself, it scares us because it's like, what the crap? Like, you've been charging forward for like the last 3 years. Like, you've been, here's the battle cry. Here's what's going on. Here's my thing. Like, part of me attributes it to change in leadership.
Ooh. So you're very alarmist now, and I'm not going to stop you from going down this path. But here's the thing that I do want to say, because I thought this when you first started talking about, like the dearth of directness and all of that. Here's the thing.
180 days.
We've had a really great 3 years.
Yeah, we have.
The expectation, the bar, the standard cannot be that Nintendo's going to drop 10 first-party banger games every year. Like, they don't have the output. So at some point, we knew, coming from the Wii U, like if you take a look at this outside of just this calendar year, think about it. Think of the calendar. At the end of the Wii U, basically the last 18 months of the Wii U was no man's land. Like, they pushed everything to Switch. And then for the first Switch's 2 years, we were like, oh my God, the game this month, game that month. You said it when we started the show. The onslaught of games that came out in the library. You had to know that a course correction, a reset was coming. And I think that's this year. And I think what we will have is we'll have some ports. And I know a lot of folks aren't going to be happy about that. And we'll have a couple of new titles, the Pikmin or the 2D Metroid or the Mario Golf. They'll start coming in here with some Animal Crossing, and we'll get one big announcement game as they start kind of, like I said, we got the Zelda, we got the Mario, we have the Kart, we have the Smash. We're getting to the point now where we're going to start getting, they have to start doing sequels, right? They don't have enough IPs that stand on their own. Like you can't carry an entire system with Pikmin and Kirby Clash. Like we gotta start getting some sequels. They take time. I'm just a little patience. Like you can't drop a direct with a whole year's worth of games 2 weeks before Animal Crossing comes out. Like that's a huge game that they're trying to give some run.
Right. One thing I will chime in on this and say is right now I'm in the middle of a uni assignment. Right. I'm in uni assignments now, leading up until the end of May. And I think that this ties into Nintendo's release schedules. Because if you look back at the last 2 years, the start of the years have been really dull. We've had like a Kirby the second year, a Yoshi the last year. Other than that, there's a couple of ports here and there and a few things. Right, same this year. We had that game that Jessie likes, the Tokyo Mirage Session thing.
Yeah,
yeah, I do know what it's really called. I'm just, but this ties in because we're seeing it from our point of view as hardcore Nintendo fans, just gamers and stuff. I haven't got time to play anything at the minute. Like you'll see that when we come to what we've been talking about, what we've been playing, and I think that sales probably are weaker right now if they release games, and so holding back that information. Say if Animal Crossing comes out, and then they say right, so here's a direct, and then this game's coming out next month. This game's your hype cycle is going to be like whoa, I need to buy this. Rather than like letting it mature and
yeah, I would kind of agree with a little bit of like what Donnie was saying as well. I think the part of it that I would connect with is that through this entire cycle with the Switch, Nintendo has done a great job of road mapping us. They have done a really banger of a job, right? And I think that this is just this oddity of like, hey, this is kind of weird. We don't really know, right? And so I think it's uncharacteristic for how they have, right? You can expect how you're going to be treated by the actions that have been that you've been treated that way, right? So they have done a great job communicating over the last several years, and then there's this weird silence, right? And I'm not banging the door saying Nintendo owes us something, but it's just a bit odd, right?
Well, and it's not. I feel the need to be like that guy. I'm going to be like, actually, I mean, it's not silence. That's not the right word. We just had an Animal Crossing Direct. Now, if that doesn't speak to you, you can be like, well, I don't count that. But it does count. It's not like they've been radio silent since I don't
disagree with you, but I think when I'm saying road mapping, and you're right, because they've done the here's the Nindies, right?
Here's the
Pokemon,
exactly.
Here's the Smash.
There's been some stuff,
and those are very centric around one series, right?
Yeah.
But what we're looking for is the larger picture.
I know,
right? And that's probably the part of it that I think is just interesting that we're missing it. I tend to also agree with you that the first part of the year is always quieter, right? Nintendo first quarter is typically quiet. They begin to kind of warm up a little bit into April, into May. We go into E3 with a bit of banger, and then the rest of the year is just usually a little bit nuttier.
They still hold on to the Q4. Like they're like one of the last folks, and I think it's because they don't have as much third party. Like everybody else has so much third party that they kind of relinquish the fourth quarter. Nintendo's very stunned. Like we're gonna have 2, 3, sometimes 4 games between September and Christmas. Oh yeah,
that's where they put their chips, right? And then interestingly enough, and I'm a full believer that like with the whole Animal Crossing, as we talked about at the beginning, it was a make way, make way, make way. See what I mean? And they have done that, right? And I think I was a full believer that, oh, sure, we're going to get a direct in January or February. And now I'm like, we're not getting one until April. And it doesn't make sense because now Nintendo has they have laser focused on Animal Crossing that is their messaging every beat that they can.
And
they
here's
need to make sure that's clear.
We've talked about this on the show in the past episodes. I think that one of the problems I have with that, if it was make way for Animal Crossing, then in my estimation, I feel like they've done a pretty poor job of that because they oversaturated us with Pokemon, like up to the point where it's like, oh, great, another Pokemon update. Like, 6 months out and we had like how many of those little 5, 10, 15-minute, things past the first direct. We've had Animal Crossing reveal, Animal Crossing delay, Animal Crossing direct. And that's it. And then it's like, oh, yeah, we're just going to tell you everything online now. And so, I'm not saying, oh, God, Nintendo's burning to the ground or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that you said it best. You said, why would they have a direct right now when it's 2 weeks out to Animal Crossing? Well, the point is they had 8 weeks to do it. They had 8 weeks that they could have done it. They had 8 weeks when there could have been, hey guys, here's what's coming down the road, right? Sure. And that's the thing is the word roadmap is a great word for it. That we have seen, we're going to go here and then you're going to come over here and then you're going to, and so just to not see that is, I'm not saying the sky is falling. I'm not Chicken Little.
Yeah, and I'm not taking it to extremes. I think we can float. I think everybody can do well to we can float without a 12-month roadmap for at least a month or two. And if you compare this to other consoles, if you compare it to their competitors, they're doing way better than PlayStation X. But we've been waiting for the same PlayStation games for 2 years now. Sure, we're just now starting to get them.
I get that, but I said this before the show maybe on the pre-show audio, I don't know. But when you're a company who has prided itself on digitally distributing information and it only is supposed to come from this source and then it doesn't come from that source, it starts to look a little weird, right? It starts to look like people are asking questions, I guess, hey, Nintendo, what are you doing? What, as Justin would say, what's the crack, right?
Right.
What's going on here?
I do think that there is this alarmist. Not necessarily. I'm not saying again, Marty, you're being the alarmist, but I do think that every morning I get up and I read Twitter, and Nintendo puts out they'll always put a tweet or whatever it is, right? About hey, it's Spirit's coming to Smash, and there's always this guy who right afterwards has this picture and it says when's the next direct, and I was like, you're so way to be consistent, good for you, right? But there's this fever pitch that okay, and to your point, I think Donnie, I agree with you. They don't need to do it. They're doing better than everybody else. But I think the challenge is that there's almost Nintendo has trained the dog.
We've been conditioned to
ring the bell and salivate.
And maybe they're trying to bend it a little.
Yeah, and I would be interested. I know you brought the question up earlier. Is it different leadership? Right? Yeah. Is this Doug Bowser's? Maybe he's I don't like the directs. We're not going to do them. We're gonna ease off on them. Right?
We all know Nintendo America ain't got that kind of stroke, man.
Right? No, it doesn't. But
don't be blaming that on Bowser. He wished he could say something like that. Sure. He's like, "Can I get your coffee, sir, please?"
Yeah. the thing is as well, the landscape has changed this year compared to all the other years here in England, especially because all the events have moved. They've all shifted along. EGX is the biggest one here. That's now moved to the end of the year, in October, so it's well after E3. When I went last year, most of the games were already out. But also Insomnia, the one that starts the year, was normally in early February. That's now in April. And I wonder if this has got something to do with why they're not hosting the directs, because normally by now, all the outlets have had hands on for these games and they're all talking about them and stuff like that. And I think that I prefer this landscape. I prefer the direct now, games next month. I prefer that. I much do. I hate the long drawn out, seeing the same YouTubers all talking the same prediction that Breath of the Wild's going to have female Link and then it never happens.
And I guess maybe that's the thing, right? And you're right in that, Gary. Nintendo does a very great job of, I'm only showing you the next 3 months. Do you know what I mean? Like we're only showing you these cards. I'm not showing you 2022. And when they have done
one thing that you can in the future, there's just one
you're like, okay,
thing.
but everything else is localized in that 3.
Yep.
And then when they have done like the long game and they've screwed it up, I'm looking at you, Metroid 4. Right, where they've done that miss, or I'm looking at you, Breath of the Wild, right? They're like, oh, we don't like to do that, so they like to keep it local. So I think when you're so focused on those locals, because we know that the blowout's coming out in E3 in June, right? We know it's coming, so you're like, so you've really got a small window. So if you're thinking like if you drew one now, right? So it's a very interesting dichotomy of how that's all working.
And this all could be very honestly, it could. Sometimes I think we always jump to conclusions. This very well could just be simply explained by they're waiting on one game to have a good date. Yeah. Like they're like, maybe they have a game that they want in May, but they're not sure yet. So they're just waiting. Like, give us 4 weeks. We'll figure out if we can get it in May or not.
And here's the thing, Donnie. I'm very much a believer with you on that one, Camp. I believe last year's Direct was delayed because they were figuring out what they were doing with Metroid Prime 4 and whether they were going to use that cut, because it was shortly before or after that they did that quick video saying, by the way, Metroid Prime 4 is starting again. And it was all within about, I think, a week of each other. So it's one of those things of like, maybe they were waiting to make that decision. You know, can we do it? Can we do it? No, we're not going to do it. Go with the Direct, put out your video later.
Yep.
Just to quickly chime in, I have seen rumblings on the internet saying that people are speculating that maybe it's got to do with the pandemic of coronavirus, and it could well be. I mean, we've already seen game delays, right? We've seen a shortage of Ring Fit Adventure because of it. So maybe they're just waiting out and just make sure that there's going to be supply to demand for these games.
I just want to point it out because I'm a fan. They were also supposed to have Doom Eternal. Mm-hmm. You know, so like we're all pointing at like Animal Crossing, like it's just Animal Crossing. They were supposed to have Doom Eternal, and up until November, they thought they had 2 AAA releases right now, and now they just have one. And maybe that hurt them a bit.
Mystery Dungeon. We haven't mentioned that, but Mystery Dungeon as well
comes out tomorrow, right? Okay. By the way, speaking of the Animal Crossing Doom coordination, I have loved that those 2 communities have come together and done some amazing mashups.
Have they? Because I keep saying that I'm playing Doom, and all of my Nintendo fans are like, "How dare you get off the Nintendo Shack?"
Oh, really? No.
I saw for being a Doom fan.
I saw a video.
Like the
it was in our Discord.
It was like the Doom guy, the Doom Slayer, showing Isabel how to use the shotgun and gets like blown off the pad.
There
and then,
was
like,
a
you see
great
her run
one
up
I
later
posted,
holding it.
The other day about the Doom guy moving into Animal Crossing, and he's like fishing and picking berries, and then it says meanwhile, and it switches to like Doom World, and Isabel is gunning down like wave after wave of demons, and it like has this like zoomed in look on her face, and she's like,
I mean, don't we all just want like Animal Crossing Doom crossover events,
for sure,
like DLC?
I would I'm hoping that at some point there's some patch where all of a sudden like you can go in and like buy an Animal Crossing outfit and it's the Doom Slayer outfit. Like that's exactly what I want to see.
That's what makes video games fun.
Right. That's exactly it. Speaking of Animal Crossing.
Yeah, so let's talk about PAX East. We actually had people in PAX East from our Discord, and we've got a.
Sorry, I'll let you finish your thought and then segue to me quickly.
Okay, so we've had people in PAX East. One of them actually was there, got to play Animal Crossing. Actually, 3 of them got to play Animal Crossing. One of them has sent us a voicemail, and we're going to play that here in just a second. But Justin first.
When you're saying PAX East, I wanted to make sure we stopped in this pocket for a quick second just so we didn't forget about it. Ladies and gentlemen, last week we announced that Jesse was going to be flying to Los Angeles to be at E3, that he'd be standing outside signing headshots, taking pictures, and eating artisanal sandwiches for your viewing pleasure.
Beans out of a can now.
And beans out of a can. Ladies and gentlemen, we can officially confirm, because of your amazing support, Jesse's going to now be in the building. So Jesse has actually qualified.
Is anyone else going to be there?
E3 for the Nintendo Dads crew? No, just Jesse.
I'm sorry, it was a joke.
Yeah, well, that's the other question. Jesse may have also just lost $300. We're not 100% sure right now. But he did get his approval for the media pass, so he is definitely going to be there. And guys, this is thanks to your amazing support. We set it as a Patreon goal that we wanted to send members of our team to these events. Jesse is going to E3 thanks to your amazing, amazing support, love, and appreciation, not only from Patreon, but from watching YouTube, from subscribing, from Amazon
And
Prime subs, all that stuff. Thank you guys so much.
if it gets canceled, we'll just send him next year.
Yeah.
I was looking at the chat. Ibisel, do we have medical insurance?
Do you have medical insurance? Do you cover your employees?
No, I do not.
But I do have
He
medical
can have it, but
insurance.
he'll be walking to E3 then.
I do have medical insurance through my full-time job. And then, if we even get an E3 this year, and I'm hoping.
That is the question. But we've got some Animal Crossing hands-on audio track.
Yeah,
right?
so, why don't we play that voicemail?
Okay, so this is actually 2 voicemails because the voicemail system has a 3-minute limit.
Okay.
So there's a small transition and some cuts to make it a little bit smooth. And so the whole thing is about 5.5 minutes. So it's a kind of a long voicemail, but I haven't even listened to the entire thing. So this will be new to me too.
Hey, Nintendo Dads, this is Crazy Greek Dre calling in. Heard the most recent episode, and I know you guys wanted input of any of the 3 people that were at PAX East this weekend. I was one of the 3, along with True and Scott the Geek. I unfortunately had a very short-lived experience. I was there for about 4 hours, from like 10:30 to 2:30 on Thursday, but I wanted to at least give input on a lot of stuff that people have been dying to hear about, most notably Animal Crossing. Quick background, I've been listening to the show since September 2016. You guys put on a great show. Just became a recent Patreon member the previous month, so really enjoying the community. And everyone seems to be very much on the same wavelength in regards to a lot of topics, and very polite and informative. So my experience at PAX East. I got there. I've never been to one of these things before, and needless to say, I was completely overwhelmed when I walked into the main expo lobby. I immediately looked everywhere, and my eyes immediately focused on the bottom right where the Nintendo booth was, where Animal Crossing was the main attraction. I went down there immediately, and there was a huge line. Surprise, surprise. Apparently that line was only for photos. There was another line that was on the other side that was super long, and I proceeded to say I will go look at the whole floor and then come back to it. I did my tour around to see what exactly the expo had to offer. There was a lot of indie developers for like retro games. I basically grew up in the 80s, and there was a game called Haunted. It looked like a beat 'em up zombie game for the NES. I bought a code from the developer there. It looks pretty cool. I know True or Scott the Geek posted photos of that as well. I made my ways around. There was shops where independent merchants were selling, all retro consoles, games. I thought that was pretty cool. Went around. There was the Yacht Club Games booth where I got to hands-on play Cyber Shadow. Guys, whoever played Ninja Gaiden in the past, definitely a love letter to this game. I would completely recommend it. I know, Marty, you would be into it, and actually one of the other guys in Discord, Cat Janitor, he said he would be pretty interested. Highly recommend. Went around, they had a Dead Cells one. I loved that game. They also had the DLC for anyone who is interested. Hey guys, calling again. Apparently Google phone cut me off because the voicemail was too long. So I will get to the nuts and bolts of what most people want, which is Animal Crossing. I did my rounds of the expo, and then I only had about an hour left, and I said, let me try and go over there and see if I'm lucky. I walked to the photo side and asked the gentleman that was holding a sign, and he basically said there was gameplay line on the other side. I went there. There was literally no one in line, so I was super lucky. basically waited in line for about 40 minutes. The first 20 minutes, they had a section where there was a guy playing on a Jumbotron screen the actual game who works for Nintendo, with another color guy that basically made fun of him. It was pretty funny. Then we moved along the line, and I was fortunate. My group, we were in front, so we got to play on the big screen, one of 3 big screens they had there. Game looks really awesome. I've never played any of these before, so I can see and appreciate why people like it. We got to use the crafting workbench to make tools. Basically, every tool has an upgrade where you can max it out, and apparently you can significantly terraform the whole landscape of the island. Got to go into the museum, which was super awesome because people had already played for 3 hours. People had caught a ginormous shark that was on display in the aquarium. We got to use the ladder to go up the hills. Got to catch fish. The town hall was cool. We basically tried to do a lot of the coast to try and do fishing and see what we could catch. Overall, the experience was 20 minutes. The instructor had 5 minutes, and then each of the 3 players got 5 minutes to play as the leader. And basically, the way you played was you'd go around, and whenever the people that weren't the leader, they could get items, but only the leader could pick them up. So it was limited, but it was a fun experience. And then I will leave on this note. I'm leaving, and all of a sudden this person bumps into me. I turn around. It's Tom Nook, and I was pretty startled, to say the least. But in the moment, I know I needed to get something for the community, so I asked one of the employees to please take a photo of me and Tom Nook, and that is me who you see on the photo. Overall, the experience was great. I plan on going next year with my brother, and definitely I would try and give as much contact to the dads as well for next year. Keep up the good work on the show, guys, and I guess this is the last of the 2 long messages I sent. Keep it up. Thank you, guys. Bye.
That's awesome.
That
Thank
was
you
lovely.
so much for sending that in. That's great.
Yeah.
I was half expecting
it's-
and the line was too long. I didn't go. That's the end.
It sounds like the leader and followers thing actually works out pretty good, with that person being only the leader being able to get stuff. That's sounds like a great mode for parents to play it with kids, which I think will be super cool when that comes out. So thanks for those voicemails. We really appreciate it. And guys, we are just about 15 days away from Animal Crossing being here in our midst, and really a week away from people getting that console for the first time. So that'll be interesting to see if anybody in our community picks that up. If you're out there and you're getting the Animal Crossing console and would like to maybe film yourself.
We already have someone who's volunteered to do that for us.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
well, let me just shut up then. All right.
Yeah, we got it covered, buddy. I love it.
Okay. Must have been the week I wasn't here.
No, it was a DM for me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Let's just move on and let's talk about what we've been playing, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, Donnie. You're up first as our guest. What have you been playing?
To be honest with you guys, I'm going to let you down. I haven't been playing a whole lot. I've been playing a lot of backlog stuff, like getting out of the way. Like, I feel like collective Nintendo fans, or at least a lot of the ones I follow, at least have been doing similar things. I've been playing. I've been playing a lot of my Xbox of late. I got some indies over on Nintendo Switch and pick up some cheap sales and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, I've been playing Devil May Cry 3 over the last couple of weeks. And then I've been playing Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I finally, I bought it 2 months ago and I just hadn't got to it yet. And there are periods and times when you get a lull, like we talked about, like we're in now. It's a great time to go back and replay a game. I restarted playing Wind Waker about 2 weeks ago over on my Wii U because I got this light kit that I put on the back of my TV and these LED lights. So now I only play Wind Waker at night now. If you follow me on Twitter, you can see these gorgeous shots of these bright blue, green, yellow hues across my entire wall as I play Wind Waker, and it makes the game 10,000 times better than it was already amazing. So yeah, I haven't been playing much. I've just been kind of hanging out, playing some old favorites, checking out some little indie games and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. So Gary, what you been playing?
Yeah, I put a review up on our YouTube channel for Sega Ages Sonic 2. It's an old game, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, right? But it's a really good emulation of Sonic 2. It's got some decent options in there, some new modes, like a time attack. There's even an easy mode for people who struggle with those games. Justin, looking at you.
Hey.
And
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And they've included Knuckles in it as well, which was normally a Sonic and Knuckles plus Sonic 2 in the top of it expansion for back in the day. Really good emulation. It's not as good as the mobile versions. The mobile version is still the superior version of Sonic 2. But in terms of a home console release, it's probably the best one I've played of it so far. So really enjoyed that. Completed it in a single sitting because I know that game like the back of my hand. But other than that, I haven't been playing much, but it's been a really great sort of eye-opener and experience, and seeing my daughter playing Breath of the Wild, which she doesn't do anything except for run around on the horse, try to get it to swim by forcing it off a cliff, and then screaming because the piggies are trying to attack her. But she's been really enjoying it, and it's just been great seeing her like run around in this open world. She's been playing it in handheld. Yes, I do trust a 5-year-old with my Switch, and just seeing the sort of imagination that kids have and the stories that she's making, because she has no idea of the context. I've given her a completed file, fully kitted out armor, DLC completed, so she got the bike, and the stories that she makes up herself as she's running around Hyrule are fantastic. And I wish that we all had that imagination, right? That ability to play one game for 2 years straight and make up your own stories as you go along. But she was being attacked by evil trees the other day, so she has to cut down every single one, which is not good for the environment, kids. Not good for the environment, but
not good for your inventory either.
No, but yeah, it's just like I say, it's just great. It's just great seeing my daughter find her own way with games. Like, I didn't even put her onto that. She saw me jump into it for a second, and she wanted to play it, and now she repeatedly asks for either that or Roblox every day.
Nice, that's awesome. Jesse, what you been playing?
Okay, so I've been playing more of the mobile game Dragon Quest of the Stars. Last week I said I didn't give him any money yet. This time I did pay for a pack of gems and to open up some chests, and got some good items from it. But I'm still kind of going through the normal story, term used loosely, because it's still relatively repetitive. Go to a new location, clear the dungeon, go repeat and mix. So there is a multiplayer component to it that I haven't tried yet. But it's still it scratches that Dragon Quest itch. Of course, it what also helps is that I was also continuing Dragon Quest V. I got to the final boss. Haven't beaten it yet. I think I need to buy more items to replenish my MP before I try it again. And then after the final boss, there's like an end-game dungeon that has some extra items in it and lets me finish up some side quests as well. Then Gary mentioned it earlier, but I've been playing. I started playing the Turing test last night. So it kind of scratches that portal itch. You go around from. They don't use the term test chamber, but that's effectively what they are. From room to room with this AI commentator, but you actually the character you play actually has a voice, and there's a dialogue back and forth between her and this AI, and they get into some pretty deep conversations about what it means to be a human or an AI, and why why did someone make these Turing tests? So apparently, the AI itself is incapable of solving them. So solving them proves you're human. So there's still kind of just side conversations as you start each room. It's, amusing hearing this banter. I haven't gotten to the point where Justin's predicting the AI turns on me, but
oh, it's gonna kill you for sure.
but I think I'm just starting chapter 3. That was one room I was stuck in. I think it was sector 19 in chapter 2, where they poorly teach a new component to the game by saying they give you this little icon in the bottom with an L button, which I didn't even see last night when I quit playing it. I didn't see it until I relaunched it this morning. And that was their way of saying push down the left stick as you're running to sprint, which is an awkward thing to do because you're doing two things at once with the same joystick. I plan on continuing through that game. And then the last game I want to talk about just came out today, and I did just shy of 2-hour live stream on it, called Murder by Numbers. It's kind of Ace Attorney meets Picross. Yeah, you are an actress on this TV show that was just wrapping up reshoots of a specific season, and you're getting ready to take a 4-month break, and you find out that you're getting fired from the show by the showrunner is your friend, and he's reluctantly not giving information about what's going on, and you leave for a bit and then come back to find he's dead, and of course you're the suspect. So you've got to as you're searching for clues, you find the clue by solving a Picross puzzle, and then when you're in dialogue with other NPCs, you're able to use the solved puzzles like you're presenting evidence. So that's where like the Ace Attorney aspect kind of comes in. So it sounds like there are 4 cases total. I'm still in the first one, and I think I'm probably past halfway through based on the rankings, because you get points for every puzzle you solve, and then bonus points based on your difficulty you have it set on. There's an easy mode and a normal mode. I'm set to normal, and then another more bonus points if you do not trigger any help. So far I've gotten all max points. You start off with rank F, and then the more points you get, you increase the rank up into eventually S is the highest rank. And when you upgrade, the benefit for upgrading your rank is it unlocks additional puzzles that if you end up needing hints or do something that you don't get maximum points, you won't unlock all the puzzles. And so it sounds like every case starts you over at F and gets you, and by the end you should be S if you've done everything right. So that's how in the bonus section I'm able to see case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4. That's how I'm guessing that there are 4 cases.
Gotcha. So Ace Attorney and Picross, that sounds right up your alley.
Yep, which I still need to finish the Ace Attorney Bird one that I started last month.
Yeah.
Aviary, whatever it was called.
Aviary Attorney. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, I need to. I played the first chapter of that. Need to play that again. But I've got other games in my backlog. I want to hit.
Lots of legal games out. I've been playing a couple of things. I'm going to spend a ton of time on these. Justin, on your recommendation from last week's show, I picked up Bloodroots, and I like it. I think.
Okay.
I've played through the first little bit and have really. I'm still learning it, still getting in the rhythm of it. So I do think that it's a pretty good game. I did see today they're going to be releasing a new patch on consoles next week that are going to, once you clear a room, enemies will no longer respawn, and there'll be some other things that gets just like quality life improvements, quality of life improvements there. I've also been playing a game called Ib and Ob that we have a video up for right now on our YouTube page that I did with my son Isaac. Ib and Ob is a co-op gravity puzzle game where you play these little creatures who have no arms. They just have feet, named Ib and Ob. And the only button that you push is the A button that makes you jump. And you've got to go through these gates that like shift gravity and cause you to fly all over the screen. And then later on, the gates end up being colored and only certain ones of the characters can go through there. You have to play it with a partner. You can't do it by yourself. So you can play local, or you can play online, or you can play like you can play local, but both be on different consoles. So, or you can all play on the same console. And it's a really charming game. If you really like Snipper Cliffs, I would think that this is one that you need to take a look at least watch the video and see if it's something you would like. Because there's not a lot of action to it other than figuring out the puzzles. And so it kind of ends up being a little relaxing as well. And of course, there's some challenges to collect things during the level and everything. But it's a pretty cool game. I would highly recommend it if you're a fan of action puzzle games. Also this week, Nintendo, I played the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo. Meh.
It's a glowing recommendation. Meh.
I've watched two people play through that entire demo, and I love the graphics on it. They look gorgeous. And
here's the thing, it is eye candy. It's such fabulous eye candy. I really hate the fact that all role-playing games are moving to this active time battle beat 'em up system. I hate it. Mm-hmm. That's not me. That's
me too.
Like, I even played in the classic mode, which is supposed to be it lets you make your own decisions, and Cloud will attack for you and defend for you. But it really doesn't do a good job of telling you what you're supposed to do or giving you any direction on what you're supposed to do. In fact, there was a time during the boss fight in there where it stops you, and it gave me this thing about a limit break, that you were supposed to do. But there was absolutely no way to trigger the limit break. I don't know how I was supposed to do that. I don't know what I was supposed to do. The demo goes up through them destroying the first Mako reactor, and I'm not calling it Mako. Give me a break. It's Mako. It's always been Mako. In 1997, it was Mako. It's Mako now. They destroy the first reactor, so you fight the first boss, the Scorpion Sentinel, and then it's over. And I say man because, I waited 13 years to play Kingdom Hearts 3, and it was a disappointment. And this just feels like, hey, let's slap a Final Fantasy VII coat of paint on Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I asked in the Megadad's Discord, saying, I said I didn't like Final Fantasy 15. I got frustrated at the tutorial. And I said, how much 15 is in the 7 remake? And the reply was, it seems to be more like Kingdom Hearts. And I said, that doesn't help for me.
Yeah. So I saw earlier this week, I thought this was interesting. Chris Kohler, who is used to be a member of the Good Job Brain podcast, but also writes for Kotaku and is huge into retro gaming and has been around the gaming community for a while, tweeted out that he did not like this demo, and he immediately got shouted down by the internet. Like, people piled on him. Basically, the internet boomered him because he didn't like it. And they were like one tweet was even like, well, Chris is really into retro games, so he obviously doesn't understand or enjoy the complexities of modern battle systems like this with many layers. And I was like, that's really patronizing.
Yeah, this is probably the person who is the biggest fan of Final Fantasy V. He literally wrote a book on it. And so he knows his Final Fantasy.
Yeah, those were a lot of comments too, like, well, it's not Final Fantasy V, so he won't enjoy it. I was like, so what does it? Where are we at this point? Like, so we can't not enjoy games. Like we can, it can't. We can't say it's not for us. Like, here's my thing: is if you like this, great. This is not the Final Fantasy VII remake I wanted. And
No,
I
I think
was
Well, you know my pattern. If a game will sell 10 million copies, it's likely a game I'm not going to want.
I actually think that, Marty, to go to your point there, I actually think that that's a good thing. I'd rather this happen with remakes because if you like the original's still there, right? And the original has had boosts and it has had like frame rate, like injections on it and stuff like that, and it's had quality of life upgrades. Okay, it's not a full blown like beautiful texture pack that they've added to it, but the original's still there, right? So this is it's obviously an entire new generation of consoles and a new generation of gameplay. And I'm with you. It's very Xenoblade battle system, and I don't like the Xenoblade battle system for the most part. It gets really tedious as you get on, and I think it's fine. I think it's fine not to like it.
yeah.
I think that's okay. It's each their own.
After like I've had time to sit with it. I played it last night before bed. I've sat with it all today, and I think that I've kind of reached the conclusion like I might buy it when it's all out and it's all in one package, you know, and it's on discount. But like I'm not going to run out and buy it immediately. And look, let's not, like you just said, Jesse, let's not even get into the fact that
on the PlayStation 6
Square Enix is making us pay about $180 to $200 for a game that's 23 years old.
You say that, but really, this is a brand new game, right? It is a brand new game. It's the same story-ish.
Yeah,
it's loose. There's even a plot line alteration in that first demo. Within that demo, something has changed, and I think it's totally different to the original Final Fantasy VII in ways, like the voice acting and the detailing in the characters themselves. Like Cloud's performance alone, from what I've seen in that demo, is probably one of the best performances I've seen.
I'm not arguing that it's not well done. In fact, I mean, like I said, graphically, it is beyond compare. I mean, it's like playing and we all know Square Enix is famous for their cutscenes. It's like playing a cutscene.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's sound wise, voice acting wise, graphically, control. I mean, even the control is great. It's just not. I don't know. It's not Final Fantasy VII.
And to my understanding, it's a 30 to 50 hour game with just the Midgar section, right? That's insane. That's a big game.
50 hours, and the game is supposedly in 2 parts after that. So
and I mean, the thing is with it as well, right? Is as a remake, it's past the point of where it was like a pasted picture of a background with just 3D character models on it. So if people were expecting the entire of the first game, entirety of Final Fantasy VII to be remade in this style, all contained in one package, that's a big ask. That's a really big ask, because those places are complicated. It's not like Breath of the Wild where it's a couple of houses here and there and then a lot of green and mountain. You know, like Final Fantasy VII was really built up in places. So I think this is probably the right way to go about it, and I'm one of the only people who think that. But I wish I had a PS4 because I really want to play it now.
Yeah.
Even though I know I won't like the battle system, I still want to play it.
So I did tell my son about it, who's borrowing my PS4, and I think he said he was going to download it and try it, but I haven't talked to him since.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Justin, somehow we managed to totally skip you. I am super sorry about that. So
sure, no, I was just sitting over here just napping.
Well, I mean,
right?
you know, just why don't
really
you tell us
caring.
what you've been playing?
Sure, for a Nintendo show, I figured I'd talk about Nintendo stuff, huh?
Nah.
All right, so here's what we're going to just give me a hard time. I have been playing a game that is not family friendly at all. I have been playing After Party. That hit the Nintendo Switch today, I believe. Available on the 6th, actually, so maybe tomorrow. This is definitely a mature 17-plus game. It is a very simple principle. 2 characters, 2 best friends, Milo and Lola. They're having a bit of fun, and then they discover they're dead. And more specifically, not only are they dead, they are actually in hell. But good news is that they can get out of hell if they out drink and out party the devil. And that's the
Good luck
premise
with
of
that.
After Party. And so one of the things I think is really cool about it is they actually have this thing that basically you control Milo and Lola independent or together as these kind of like narrative beats with an intelligent kind of what they're calling an intelligent conversation system that basically changes the story and the relationships based on the decisions you make. And it's actually kind of interesting. They'll usually have like an A and a Y button, so you choose one of these two options essentially. But in the game, for example, if you drink, you get a third option, which is kind of like what we get, like being brave or being drunk or being a bit bold. So there's kind of a third option that's given to you, and then the screen goes all fuzzy and flurry to kind of look as if you've had a couple of drinks. So I've got about 45 minutes into it. Here's a couple things I would say. Really sharp writing, really great dialogue, actually. Like, it's a really well written, like, that's the principle. I think when they started, that was a principle they started at with this idea. It's a really well written script. The voice acting is great. The overall acting is really fantastic. I think it's an interesting principle, interesting idea. Again, it is definitely mature, right? This is not you sitting at home on the couch playing with the kids. This is maybe the kids have gone to bed. Maybe you're with your partner. Maybe you're deciding to have a couple drinks. That's where this game is maybe going to come out and kind of you get to work on it together. Other thing I would say, just my noticing of it is it does lag a little, like not lag, but the system's chugging.
That was there on the Xbox version when it released there too, and even like with all its power, like it had some performance issues.
Yeah, there was definitely some chug in there. Not game breaking, but just kind of you notice it for sure.
Especially the sections where they like swoop you across the screen, like when you get picked up and lifted from another level. Like those are like you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, exactly. You can kind of feel it there, but definitely a lot of fun. And so check it out. It is on Nintendo Switch. Again, it's a mature game, but I mean, if you've got a flight somewhere, it's kind of choose your own adventure, walking sim, funny principle, sharp writing, funny lines. That's After Party, which is out on March 6th on the Nintendo Switch.
I played about half of it. I was really looking forward to it actually leading up to release. I really love Oxenfree. Yeah. And it's a really great game. And I just kind of fell off with this one about like I said, about halfway through. I was just like, okay, just kind of over it. It didn't like grab me the way Oxenfree did. I think of the story and it was a bit more linear. You know, it didn't have like so much exploration and like backtracking and go, everywhere and keep taking the ferry everywhere. So I think I like that more about Oxenfree than After Party.
For sure.
Gotcha.
I'm glad that you've tried it as well then, Donnie. That's great.
So let's dive into our community spotlight to round out the show, shall we?
Let's do it.
Well, this is the time of the show that we turn the spotlight back on our fans, our listeners, and most importantly, our guests as they come on the show. And so, Donnie, why don't you tell us, number one, what are you doing, man? What are you working on? What's going on over at the Nintendo Shack? And how can people find you and interact with you if they want to hear more?
Yeah, the biggest reason why I haven't been playing a whole lot will be kind of unveiled tomorrow. We've been working on some things behind the scenes over at PSVG, collectively as a team. We announced earlier in the year, our patrons kind of supported us to launch what we're calling the PSVG House Party, where we are all piling up into a house that we've rented, hopefully during E3. So Jesse, if there's no E3, I'm happy to come shack with us. And we're gonna live stream. We're gonna do all of our production that we do every week, remotely. We're just gonna do it together. And we're gonna do it live. We're gonna play games live. We're gonna podcast live. We're gonna live react live. We're just gonna do everything live. We might cook breakfast live. Who knows? But we've never. A lot of my team.
You're sitting at your own reality show.
Kinda. Yeah, and a lot of our team have never met each other. Like we know each other. We've talked to each other for years. PSVG's been going on. I think it was like our 5-year anniversary, but only a handful of us actually met. And I just thought, man, what a great way. I just always felt like we'd regret it if we never did it. Like just once, at least once. Let's all get together and have fun and do something like a random event. So we're doing that. So tomorrow we will announce some new things about the house party, and if you're interested in following us over there, you can follow us at PSVG. We also have a special guest appearance podcast will be dropping. We're also dropping one of our new shows that's our Patreon exclusive. That'll be dropping. Some updates on some new shows and some changes to some old shows. So we're just kind of doing a little refresh tomorrow. It's been a minute. We haven't really touched our Patreon since we launched it, and so we're just kind of changing up a little bit. So I've been behind the scenes making all those cryptic teasers that you see on Twitter and all little things we're doing just to try to drum up a little interest, and I hope it's worth it because I'm real excited. I don't want to outstay my welcome, but I got to podcast with somebody that personally I'm a big fan of, and I'm really excited that I get to share it with everybody else. So that'll drop tomorrow. But outside of just the overall PSVG thing that's been taking on, you can usually find me over at Shack Life on Twitter, and I represent a half or part, or now going forward a third, of the Nintendo Shack podcast, the flagship Nintendo show over at PSVG. You guys might know, if you listen to the show, that Caroline has recently stepped away from being a weekly contributor. And since you guys already swooped up the great Tim, I had to go and find some new hosts. And we are announcing those tomorrow. Those are announcing tomorrow. But since this is like 1:30 and most people already know, I'll go ahead and tell you. So we're going to have Forrest Minish, Rebecca from Twinfinite. She's going to come over as a standard weekly host, as long as Garrett Bland, who's been in and out a lot of our circles. You guys know him, Sean Capri and Bobby and all those guys and Bad Bit. So they're going to come join me weekly, and we're going to have our new little Shack trio, Shack 2.0, as I'm kind of deeming it. And, Carol's not going anywhere, and neither's Jason. They just can't do it. Now, you guys understand. Like, we've all done this for many, many years. It's a lot. It's a drain to do it every single week, especially it's a two-person show. For like 100 episodes, it's just me and Caroline. I mean, for most things. So like when it's just two people, like you can't like call out, like you got to be there. So just with all the things that she's wanting to do, she was just like, it'd be a real big help if I could step back and kind of pick her spots. So we went out there and we've had some great guests that have come through. We've had Steven come through, and we've had Jason's come back and done a few episodes, kind of carry me over the gap. I know you guys have had a lot of hosts that like kind of have come and gone. I was real adamant that I didn't want to just like pick somebody for whatever reason. I think we have a pretty faithful listenership. They really like Shack, and like they're there every morning when we release, and we're always talking about the episode and everything like that. I thought it was important to them that I really try to find the best fit. So I didn't like hold tryouts per se, but I wanted them to come talk to me. I wanted it to be live. I wanted to get feedback. I wanted to kind of try it out a little, get a little run with it, see how it feels before I just said, "Oh, okay, you're the new host." But so we've been doing that over at Nintendo Shack Land for like the last 6 or 7 weeks. It's been going on for a minute, and I'm glad we're finally through it, and I'm glad we get back to some consistency. But really excited about all the updates that we're dropping, and I'd be honored to have any of the folks from Nintendo Dads give Nintendo Shack a try, put it in their rotations. Check us out. Big fan of all of you guys. I've had half of you over the show. I've been talking to Tim for a while now. I'd love to have Tim over. He's always been great. We've talked, and I know he listens to Shack in many years. He's always on our Patreon, and he's really actually through this transition, kind of some of the things I've done. He played a pivotal role. He's sent me some very inspirational messages and some honesty that I could take to heart, and I always like that kind of feedback. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. That's what we do over there. We got PSVG, play some video games. We've got a show for board game enthusiasts. We have a kind of like what we call like our variety show. It kind of covers everything. We've got our Xbox show. We've got a PlayStation show. We had a Stadia show. We're changing that into a technology show. Where we're gonna like kind of do some different stuff, and then we've got all kinds of stuff. I just launched. You guys may have seen the teaser today. We just launched a wrestling show, which I'm personally like really excited about. Big fan of the wrestling. So
yeah, and when you need a guest, you know what we can do, baby? We can bring over the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
This is where I can officially announce that we have starting off the show. He's just going to do his own wrestling show. We're done, folks. We don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah, I just said I'm just gonna come over there to the. Is it called the Wrestling Shack? That's what I gotta know.
It's called PSVG Strong Style. We're going to the official Strong Style term.
It's over there, the Strong Style. Hit them with a plunder.
It's me and Delvin Cox. I got to tell you, at least in our little echo chamber of the internet, our little slice of the pie, it's probably our number one most requested show 2 years running. We get it quite a bit. We always we have a Discord room dedicated to wrestling, we call it.
Wrestling.
And, I go to like some house shows and some indie shows, and like I usually post some pictures and stuff like that. Me and Delvin are both, very big fans. But we also have, several community members are also big fans. So you can typically always find me talking about it somewhat weekly, with a group of guys, Shell Shock or Jace or somebody like that. And a lot of folks have always said, man, like we'd really wish you'd do one of those shows. So we are. It's Patreon exclusive. So you gotta pay for the DLC feed, which is $1. It's changing tomorrow. That'll be in the update video, so I'll just tease that for you. But yeah, like it'll be a monthly show where we just kind of get together and we talk about all things WWE, AEW, like whatever it is. We're gonna have some best of segments. You got to do like the rankings, your favorites, and all that. And we're gonna do a match of the month segment and kind of recap our favorite storyline or favorite segment of the month. Just kind of relive it and talk about what we loved and fantasy book what's coming up next. It's Mania season. It's the perfect time to drop a new pod, and I'm real excited about it. So just lots of changes over there, and I can't wait to get it all out.
Really
like
cool.
I've been teasing about it for so long. People are just like, okay, Donnie, we get it. Stop. Just post the video.
I love it. Well, you guys that are listening, go over and check out the Shack. Check out all the stuff that they've got brewing. Tons of cool stuff. We're excited for you, and best of luck on your relaunch there with Nintendo Shack 2.0 and all the other cool stuff you've got coming up. Let's talk some emails, but before we do that, we want to say a huge winner chicken dinner to one of our patrons, Presto Whitney, who, if you're still listening, congratulations, buddy. You just won $25 in eShop cash. We'll be in contact with you. We do a $25 eShop giveaway every month to one lucky patron. You're just randomly generated. You're picked in there. So presto, it is your month to win $25 in eShop credit. We'll be getting with you very soon about all of that. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Marty.
You got the doc open, right?
I do got the doc open.
Why don't you hit us with this first email?
All right, first email comes from Mecha Dragon. Hopefully you guys are doing well. My question for you this week is the following, and hopefully I haven't asked it already. I recently picked up one of the Hyperkins recent 3-in-1 clone console that plays NES, SNES, and Genesis and can connect via HDMI. And despite it being not the best, it does the job well, and it really makes me want to collect retro gaming again. What I want to know, Dads, is what is your stance on clone consoles for old retro games like the Hyperkin and the Retrobyte bin release, or the Retrobytes and the Retro bins releasing? Do you find them as important conveniences for consumers, or feel like they're just a waste of space? Thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to this week's podcast. I apologize. I think I stumbled over some of that. But basically, what's our thought on these kind of retro consoles?
I like them. I think that it's sometimes it's hard to have the original gear because of all the converters and stuff you need. So it's just easy, right? It's just convenient. And even though it's illegal, guys, but some of these play ROMs. They take an SD card in and they play ROMs straight off them, which is, again, a convenience for people, right? We all jumped for the NES and Super NES Classics because they were a bunch of ROMs shoved on a little box that connected with HDMI. And just because it doesn't look like an NES or a Super NES doesn't mean that they're any different, really, in the internals. I have heard that some of them have got a bit of input lag and stuff, but I mean, that's what you get with emulation anyway. But I personally, I like them. Like, I really wish that I owned one. I own a Raspberry Pi with RetroPie on to play Game Boy games, and it's great. Play it with the Xbox controller, which is weird, but still.
I had one of the first NES, reproductions way back when. It didn't even have HDMI. It just you plug it in with the VGA port, and it's okay. I know the quality of them has really gone up. I love the fact that a lot of them allow you to play with your old controllers. You can use the original, because the ones they ship with aren't great. But I guess the only comment I thought of when I read this email was those things have a death grip on your cartridges. I don't know if you've ever used one and put one in there. It's like you can put in a Mario 3 cartridge in that thing. And I thought, this is never coming out of here. It's like it had been glued in. Yeah. And then I plugged the wrong adapter into it, and it started smoking, and I didn't have one anymore.
Uh-oh.
Wow. I've never used one, but I'll just say my piece. I'm for all of this stuff. Like, I am the floodgates. I have no judgment towards anybody. I love hacking things. My SNES Classic is hacked. My Wii U is hacked. I would never hack my Switch. I would never I would say, and then maybe I'm just like drawing my own line of morality. I would never like counterfeit or like take ROMs for like games that are like currently selling. Like, I would never hack my Switch and like try to play free Switch games. I buy all these games. I've got tons of them. It's just like when they're old and gone and they're hard to keep up with, and like you said, you can't find the original hardware. It's very expensive. You got to go find the old carts. They're very expensive. It's like, dude, don't do any of that. Just find yourself a box you can play these things on and keep playing the games, because I feel like so many times we can get lost in the minutia of trying to defend this stuff like it's really important when, I mean, there's really there's no like enforcement. And these companies aren't doing us any favors. It's not like they're re-releasing them all. Like, it's not like we can buy them. It'd be 100% totally different if you could just buy all these ROMs whenever you want, but you can't, right? So you kind of have to take it in your own hands. And I think the thing that's most important is that you keep playing the game, because these were people's livelihoods. They spent their time on these things. And I'm not necessarily, a strong game preservation proponent. I think the games that deserve to be preserved will be. Because they're important to people and they'll find a way. But at the same time, I do think it's important that if you really love a game, you should be able to play it. And if the companies aren't going to sell it to you, I have got no qualms with you finding a way. I'm totally fine with that. You're not taking any money from anybody.
Yeah, the first one of these I've seen, I think, was also Hyperkin. It was actually back, at E3 9 years ago. I think was like, I don't even remember what they called it. It was basically like a Super Nintendo in a handheld. So it actually had its own screen. It can play completely handheld. It used the actual Super
I remember
Nintendo
that, the cartridges.
Yeah. So it was kind of bulky because you're holding the whole system and a Super Nintendo cartridge. Yeah. And so the system had to be big enough to put the cartridge in.
But it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it worked. The controllers was a little squishy, but of course they can't be perfect controllers because Nintendo has a patent on them. But this was still able to be plugged into a TV to play. So on the TV, so it's like a Super Nintendo in your hand, and that was the first time I've ever seen anything like that. I'm like, that's kind of cool. Don't think I want this, but I'm sure there are people that do. And then the device that I have picked up and have used, and even recently, is also from Hyperkin, is the Retron 5, which has cartridge slots for Mega Drive or Genesis carts, Super Nintendo, and Super Famicom both will fit in the same slot. NES cartridges, Famicom cartridges, separate slots, and a Game Boy Advance slot, which also supports Game Boy Color, Game Boy, and original Game Boy games. And while it does have an SD card slot, I don't think you can actually load ROMs on it. It's meant for firmware updates only, I believe. And there is some internal storage as well. So the system is still like an Android-ish based emulation box, but it will rip the ROMs directly off your cart. Yeah. So that's the gray line. Yeah, it's still playing a ROM, and even though the United States law says you're able to rip a copy for archival, but if you're playing the archival, is it really archival? So that's where it's gray. But at least you still need the physical cartridge in the machine in order to play it, even though it isn't actually being played off the cart. But I like it. And before Dragon Quest 11 launched, I played Dragon Quest 1, the Game Boy Color version. And I did I streamed it on our channel, and I did it through the Retron because I had the HDMI out, so I can put it into my capture card.
Nice.
And
Very
it
cool.
worked really well.
See you, Gary.
Right, I'm
Peace
gonna
out.
head off, guys.
It's good seeing you.
Yeah.
Good luck
nice
at
talking to
uni.
you, Donny.
Always.
Bye, Gary.
Yeah.
All right. We miss you. Bye-bye.
Work time. Bye.
All right, we got another question here. We got a couple more, and then we'll finish off because Donnie's going to fall asleep here, and I don't blame him. This comes from the Crimson Skid Mark, and it is, hey, guys, with the auction coming to an end of the Nintendo PlayStation, what do y'all think it'll end at? The seller has already declined the $1.2 million offer. Do you think it'll get close to that, or will it sell for much less, leaving the seller with a lifetime of remorse?
Did you
Love
put in
the
an
show.
offer?
No, I did not. I heard
so
IGN
badly just wanted to put in like an 800,000 offer just to say I did it once.
Right.
Like, you're not going to win. It's just like to live on the wild side for 6 minutes.
I also put in an offer.
Did you?
Yeah, it was declined. It was. I mean, I thought $50 was fair.
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
it is fair.
Yeah,
I mean,
I-
it doesn't really work. I don't have any games I can play on it.
So the seller has declined 1.2 million.
See,
And that was from, I'm sorry, I haven't been following the story super close, but is that offer from like the Oculus Facebook guy, or is that a
don't
whole
know.
separate thing?
I'd have to find. I'll have to.
I know he's bidding.
See, 'cause I'm looking at the auction now. It's currently up to 280,000. I'm kind of wondering if the reason why a 1.2 million offer was declined is because they're already in contract through this auction site, which is, I've never heard of it before. So why would you use this one versus something like an eBay or something that's a little bit more common? But
Well, aren't they like, so this is just like the public facing thing. Aren't they having like an in-person like silent bid auction at the same time?
I
think there's like
don't know.
another auction that's happening, or at least that
Oh,
was my
there-
understanding.
There is something that says live auction. No, I don't know. See, I'm not sure. So I'm wondering if, they're kind of under contract to sell it through this site. So they,
Huh.
If they, he still could have reneged on the offer and paid whatever penalty that he needed to pay.
Sure.
And even with 1.2 million in the pocket, that might have been worth it. But, so you definitely, if its current bid is, almost $1 million shy of that, and kind of wondering
I
if
think
something
it's-
else is going on.
It's pretty apparent that us collective gamers, we love rare collectibles like that. There's definitely like a market, and this is the rare of rare collectibles. You were talking about
This is the holy grail.
bitter rivals coming together for a little demonstration product that was
Well,
lost to ever.
They weren't rivals
forever.
yet.
But they became rivals.
they
So
birthed-
it makes it almost more important.
They birthed their own rival because of this.
But I can't imagine giving $1 million for that box. Like, how do you
Yeah.
feel like after? Like the next day you wake up, you're like, I got this thing.
I know
Yeah.
Pierce Schneider says
which you can maybe plug in. I don't even know if it'd do a load screen.
It's just like
Is there a UI? This is the early
Dude,
90s.
It's not. The other thing is it's not like particularly like pretty. It's like a Frankenstein construction piece of
it's a prototype. Yeah.
like this old dust. So it's like, what do you display it? Put in a glass case in your house or something? Like it doesn't.
Yeah,
Or I wonder
it doesn't.
if- I wonder-
like I'm
yeah.
looking at it right now. It doesn't scream like.
Check out this cool thing I've got.
centerpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if the other part is that they're picking it up and then giving it to like one of the like video game hall of
That's probably
archive museums to ensure that it's
tax
there.
write off. There's ways of making things.
for sure, right? Like you're not getting all that back, but you're definitely being helpful. So hopefully, I don't know. I'm going to suspect it's going to end at probably $1 million. I would think.
There's only 10 hours left. That thing's ending before we wake up in the morning.
Well, there you go. Then I guess we're going to find out the news cycle tomorrow.
This won't get sold
Crimson
now.
Skid Mark. We'll find out.
Yeah,
this
I think Pierce Schneider said on his show that he was willing to put in like $5,000 for it and to put it in their archives, and he wasn't willing to go more than that.
Yeah, that's fair. The IGN roll only goes so far on that one. This next one is actually a really cool email. I'm going to give it a read. This comes from Tanya. Good morning, Nintendo Dads. I've been listening to your podcast, and I love it. I'm a Nintendo grandma. I do love Animal Crossing and hope they sort out the save file issue. I played Animal Crossing New Leaf for over 1,300 hours. I'm a bit disappointed that I took the day off to pick up and play New Horizons on my turquoise Switch Lite, and then they announced the new coral color for an early April release. I assumed I could start my island on the turquoise and transfer to the coral one, just like I did with all 4 of my 3DS systems. So now maybe I just have to wait to start it when I get the new coral one. One of the granddaughters will get the old one. That brings me to another point. I have a granddaughter that has several challenges, including autism. Playing her 2DS has improved a lot of her condition, hand-eye control, and her focus. I love the episodes we discuss these topics. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that, Tanya. That is awesome.
Can we bestow the crown of coolest letter we've ever gotten?
I think so.
Nintendo Grandma.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And then
I love it.
I was
think
sure
you
to let
edited it
Zach. Go ahead. Yeah. Well, she added extra stuff that she asked me to cut out, and that's what I did here, and I kind of replied to that personally. But I let Zach know about this email, and he said that was awesome. Thanks for letting me know. And
that's just so awesome and so cool. And thank you for sharing how the Nintendo has also impacted and helped your granddaughter as well with autism. And obviously gaming sounds like such a huge part of your life and the enjoyment that you get out of it. And just that's so cool. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, really awesome. As a dad who has a son who struggles with some of that as well, he's on the spectrum. Video games are a big part of our life. And so it's really cool to hear stories from other folks, and see how that's impacting them as well. I think we've got one final voicemail, right?
Yep. From
All right.
Warren.
Okay.
Hey, Dads. This is Warren G. So with the Mega Man
Regulate.
Zero and ZX collections and the previous 2 Mega Man collections that had come out, or the original series and Mega Man X, I was wondering if you guys think, what are the chances of getting other collections within that Mega Man line, like I forget what they're called. It's like .exe or whatever those like weird digital computer Mega Man versions are, or I think it's called Star Force or something. Could be wrong about that, but especially I would love to get the Legends games and the Misadventures of Tron-Bon or whatever that one's called. But like a collection of those would be awesome personally. But what do you guys think of the chances of getting some more Mega Man collections down the line? I mean, they've gone this far, so what do you think?
Gonna throw it to the resident Mega Man fan, Mr. Marty Estes. Any early thoughts on this?
I would love to see those. Warren, what the series that you're referring to is Mega Man Battle Network.
Yeah.
That did eventually become Mega Man Star Force. And I didn't actually play any of those. I did play a few of the Battle Networks. Brilliant games. I love the spin and series on the series that those took. I think it all depends on sales. I would assume that because we're getting the Mega Man Zero collection, that means that the Mega Man Legacy collection and Mega Man 11 have done well enough to warrant further releases, as well as the Mega Man X collection as well. It could be entirely possible, like Donnie said earlier about the Wii U being a Zelda machine, that the Switch could eventually become a Mega Man machine. Like it could have all of those together. Now, the problem that I see with that is I know that there's a big push for Mega Man Legends, but I just don't know that the support is there to get that one made. I think that Battle Network probably has a better chance of getting made as part of like a mobile collection. I would love to see the Game Boy games be part of that as well, seeing as how they were actually, they rehashed characters and bosses from the original games, but they were entirely new games on their own. And especially by the time you got up to Mega Man 5 on Game Boy, it was completely off the rails. It was crazy. So I'd love to see those happen. Will we? I don't know. Capcom has a problem with not wanting my money.
I did want to add that the Mega Man X, the Mega Man Collection 2 are normally $14 or $15 each on eShop, or on sale for $10 each. And then the Mega Man X Collection and Mega Man X Collection 2, normally $20 each, also discounted to $10 each.
Yes, so 50% off sale on those right now. If you do not have these games, go buy them if you're a fan of action side scrollers. Definitely needs to be in your collection. Well, I hope that answered your question, Warren. We're going to wind down episode 270 of Nintendo Dads. Donnie, again, we want to thank you for coming on and being part of the show with us tonight.
Yeah, anytime. I love you guys to listen. So yeah, absolutely anytime.
Awesome. Right. And one more time, where can people find you?
Oh yeah, you can find my network at PSVG. Find me personally at Playin' Nintendo. There's no G in there. Ain't no G in Playin' Nintendo. And you can follow the show at Shack Life. And we've got satellite feeds for all of our shows. So you can listen to our content if you'd like a bunch of different ways. In your podcast player, you can type in PSVG, and you'll get the PSVG Podcast Network, and that's a master feed of all of our stuff. So just a one-stop shop to get all of it. Or if you prefer, if you'd like to pick and choose, like the Nintendo Shack, we have our own feed, as does our PlayStation show or Board with Video Game show. So you can a la carte, you can pick whatever you'd like. We'd love to have you at Shack Life. If you want to add us to your rotation, we'd be honored. We have a lot of crossover. We've had the Nintendo Dads have been on the Shack, and I've been over here, and we share a lot of the same Discord users and Twitter users, and I think that's it's always been really, really nice, really, really fun. We share a lot of the same, even podcast family. There's Sean Capri in the chat, all that stuff. So it feels like we're always kind of pod and family, talking about the same things, bouncing ideas off of each other. And Jesse and I have been talking Persona 5 Strikers. We've been talking about Animal Crossing saves. Like this type of stuff goes around. So it's cool to be in the circle.
I love it. Well, guys, as we close out episode 270, we want to say a huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Chris Mears, Dave Ernsberger, Sean Abbott, and Antonio Contronio. Thank you guys for backing us at the maximum level. And if you want to become a backer, a patron of the Nintendo Dads for $1 a month or whatever level, you can head over to patreon.com/Nintendo Dads and get signed right up. We also have a website, nintendodads.org. You can head over there for all kinds of feeds, merch page, all of our social media, link to our Patreon, bios of the cast, all kinds of stuff over there at nintendodads.org. You can find us on all the socials. Just type in Nintendo Dads. Boom. There we are. You can email us at nintendodads@gmail.com or call in and leave a voicemail like old Warren G at 929-25-NDADS. That's 929-256-3237. I want to say a big thanks to OC Remix for the music used throughout the show. And we would ask that you would please go to your favorite podcast app of choice, be that CastBox, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, Apple, whatever it is. Leave us a written review and 5 stars. It helps people find us. It helps other people get in the know on the show that you love so well. It helps you spread the good news about what's going on here at Nintendo Dads. For me, for Gary, for Jesse, for Justin, and Donnie, this has been episode 270. Bye-bye.
Good night, Kooplings.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.
Pew, 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 pew.